Hello, friends, and welcome back to Tracking the Pros. Apologies for the sudden change in programming, but at the last minute, Cam and I, alongside our illustrious producer Bright, have managed to cobble together a co-stream of the Equal Esports Cup. While the first game was over on Contingent Esports, Cam, we are now over on TTP, ready to go, presenting some of the best women and gender minorities that players that we have in Europe.
Oh yeah.
We in the first game had NNO versus SK Avarosa. SK took down this team with sudden ferocity off the back of a very aggressive draft with the Samira, but now we're transitioning into match number 2.
Yeah, we'll be heading on here. I'm very excited. That first game played out very well and was very fun to watch. I'm hoping, going forward the rest of the tournament stays like this, stays as competitive and as fun as the drafts were. We saw that very cool Kog'Maw flex into mid. I'm hoping for more, fun picks like that, like the Seraphine mid, all that sort of stuff going into this next game.
All right. Well, we're about to dive into this draft for round number 2, trying to get some more information on just making sure that our stream is not going to blow up from under us and whatnot. But yeah, I think Cam going to be a great time just watching this competition. I think that what we've seen so far already is very high level play and a really good read on the meta in particular. The fact that people are able to knock out, so many 80 carries and then transition over to something like Nautilus Samira and take that to victory off the back of a collector rush shows that everybody's doing their homework and they are ready to rumble here in what I believe is still a current patch. I believe we're on 13.11, even if this is being hosted on Tournament Realm.
Yeah, be very fun to see this all come out. 1311 obviously has shifted things up a lot. Haven't seen much play of it yet, but obviously so many changes coming out, so many champions that feel very strong, and so many champions that kind of got put on the back foot a little bit. But we'll see how things come out. Obviously, one of the most notable changes is the buff sharing that's come out now. I mean, very nice quality of life for junglers to just hand over that blue and red to teammates without having to worry about losing gold themselves. So now overall we're gonna start seeing junglers start getting more gold overall. And I mean, sure, it's not that much, but when you're talking about like a few red and blue buffs over the entire course of the game, you could be looking at maybe like 1k gold if the game goes long enough now put into these junglers that was never there before.
Yeah, definitely the case. I love the fact that buff sharing is a thing, and I'm also happy that it's shipping alongside buffs to Ivern to make sure that that little bit of his passive isn't totally irrelevant, right? That
Oh
champion's
yeah.
kind of a monster right now, man. I saw Ivern mid yesterday in Meta Shift, and while it didn't win, that was mostly because they also drafted Dr. Mundo and Timo Bot, so not going to put anything up against the tree guy, but we're now moving into what I think is one of the most impressive and impactful matchups of this playoff bracket, because we're going to be witnessing G2 take to the stage once more. This is a team that went undefeated during the groups and frankly looks kind of unstoppable, but let's see if CWE will be able to turn things around.
Yeah, draft comes out here, kind of just waiting on things to get started up, and the Rek'Sai ban coming out from Can We End, starting off getting away that very strong. I mean, Rek'Sai this patch is doing very very well. I'm already hearing people talking about how broken it is. So very smart from them to get the ban out as Pantheon being followed up by G2 Hell once again, just banning out the comfort picks.
I like the fact that Pantheon is being given this much respect because it is such a flexible champion, kind of having 3 different roles, if not 4, that they're pretty viable in. Knocking it out during the first draft phase makes a
Team
lot of
end up
sense for
going
what is
after
otherwise kind of
Saya, who
stereotyped as like
as
a
Cloud
top lane stomper, just because of that flexibility. Olaf, kind of in a similar vein, can go into the jungle role, and so G2 knocking that out shows that they're trying to cut down on the aggressive bent of a team that is as aggressively named as Can We End.
Yeah, Karma and Lucian now being banned for Can We End as the Olaf gets banned for G2 Hell. They, they really want things to go their way. There definitely some focus is coming out, and Senna being banned from G2 Hell. Uh, Very nice pickup overall.
And we're jamming into a Zeri on B1. What a dramatic time it is. What a wild pick for sure, Cam. I certainly did not expect this whatsoever, given the fact that it got through ban phase.
Yeah, we definitely love to see the Zeri come out. We'll have to see what the responses are, but it will seem to be a Nico pickup from G2 Hell, followed by the Nautilus pickup.
Yeah, I like the fact that we're getting some kind of funky stuff out of G2. They are not afraid of experimentation. Nico has often been played in the jungle following her mid scope, which means that all of a sudden you have this very kind of entrenched role where you have this constant cycle of very viable champions suddenly disrupted because now who the heck was a jungler that played Nico before this, right? There's also flex potential down to the support role, taking a page out of Dog Lightning's book. We're going to see if that's actually going to be one of the 2 places that this champion goes, but obviously the flex potential makes it very good on R1 because you could also just jam it mid at the end of the day. And frankly, I think it's pretty viable in any of those categories. Nautilus too experienced their time in the sun as a flex pick during MSI, but I think most likely this is just going to be oriented to trying to shut down the Zeri early as they will be playing in the support role.
Yeah, and I mean, we see Talia Vi coming out. They're definitely showing their cards on the table. They want to, set up around an objective, get that fight going, get the Zeri just super safe with Vi protecting them, the Weaver's Wall to help block off any engage, while Zeri just gets the free fire. Uh, Definitely showing things on the table as the Xayah pick comes out. Uh, as now G2 Hell's bot lane fully on the table, as Can We End still have a support to pick up.
And that's going to be a Yumi band to cut back against the Zeri. I think that this is a perfectly fine gamble, though, for Can We End to take. Yeah, Zeri is obviously very good with the Yumi combo. It's what we've been seeing kind of dominating the LPL in its first week of competition, as we also don't get the LCS as a sample size because of its current walkout issues, right? But the fact of the matter is, you can still put this with the Lulu. You can put this with a Milio as well, another champion that has not been banned in this game so far. And I think that they're perfectly happy to play with any of them.
Yeah, I mean, you'll definitely overall take how things have gone. G2 Hell, yeah, just looking to pick out the Yumi and Lulu ban. They really do not Can We End to get that prime support pick that they would have liked to pick up. Can We End opting into the Kindred ban, as now the round 2 picks will come through.
And it looks like that this is not going to be something super crazy like a Nico support. However, this is looking like it could have been a lane Nautilus, as we did see a hover, stuff like the Alistar and whatnot, but G2 could just be baiting not only me, but also CWE, because they finally cycle over to the Nocturne jungle.
Yeah, I think potentially just trying to hover to get the idea in their heads of what may have been going on, but overall, just opting into that, showing that Nico is not the jungler. We have yet to see Nico jungle really pop up very much, but definitely always a pick as the Rakan locked in. Definitely looking for that, just more team fighting as was talked about.
I think that Rakan is an underrated combo with the Zeri. Obviously, it isn't as clearly support oriented as something like a pure enchanter, but the fact of the matter is, Kasana is going to be able to follow Cosmic, excuse me, over walls by using their E, and that means that you can have really dramatic engages, particularly if you also have Lil Yane riding in on a Weaver's wall and Delicate jamming with that vibe. There's plenty of crazy wombo combo potential, and now that we're seeing a Talia and Rakan picked up alongside a Yasuo, it looks like Kanwian is fully in on the team fights.
Yeah, and not only that, you have the Vi as well. Zeri's the only one that can't provide a knockback or knock up for Yasuo to ult on. So the Yasuo value of this game is absolutely insane as the Urgot as a response from G2 Hell, really looking for, those executes, looking for the laning phase. Uh, Obviously, Urgot's kind of fallen out of the meta, but I mean, he was a staple Worlds pick for a few Worlds there.
Yeah, I'm really liking the fact that we're getting something like the Urgot here from G2. It shows that they are unafraid to clash up topside of the map, even into something like the Yasuo. But at the same time, if this champion does get shut down, we all know what it feels like to have an 0-2, 0-4 Urgot on the map. It's just kind of like you're auto losing that lane. And up against something like a Yasuo who can become a hyper carry in their own right, if Cosmic isn't quite cutting the mustard, it could really be a disaster for G2. Sheena, I think, will be there for one of the players that I'm looking forward to the most. I want to see them really impact both of these side lanes, or at least get a good read on which lane needs the most support, right? Because you either have to take down Cosmic or Sana. You cannot let both of these champions pop off and get a free laning phase.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll definitely be looking over to Tifa to get, those Nico ults that we've been seeing in the LPL. Nico, such a high priority pick over there. Just the strength of providing the questions in your mind. You see the jungler walk over a ward, but Nico's missing. Is that really the jungler? And especially as that with that being a Nocturne, the value of that is so much greater as if you see Nocturne top, however, it's actually just a Nico, Nocturne can then ult bot as his bot pushes up. The value of Nico, people seem to misunderstand just the value that putting the questions in the enemy head creates. You're never
Mhm.
sure of what vision you have. You're never sure. You're always adding so many extra steps to make sure you're safe.
I mean, I've gotten juked on broadcast by Nico plays, and I get to see the whole map cam. That's the extent to which this champion can be a sneaky, disruptive force to really help G2 hammer home another victory here in the second round and make it deeper on into the playoff bracket. Like I said before, they are very much the favorites up against Can We End, but we've already seen some of these lower ranked teams bare their teeth up against these big organizations. And while unfortunately we haven't seen the full upset today, I have a feeling that CWE is going to at least give G2 a reason to fight this with their full seriousness and force.
Yeah, they'll definitely come down to, early laning phase if things get kicked off, but if things go slow, these team fightings from both comps will be very strong. Obviously, Can We End have the stronger, just straight up 5v5 in your face, but G2, the power and the pick potential they have, Nocturne jumps on someone, Nico jumps on someone, it doesn't matter if they can't get the full combo off, because you have that Urgot ult that could come flying out of nowhere to get steal up that execute. So, very, very good pick potential, especially with the Nautilus as well. You never know when a hook can fly out of nowhere. Or Nico, the value of becoming that Nautilus, creating so much space for your team while it's actually just a Nico the whole time.
All right. Well, while we do have some trickiness from G2's composition, we also have to talk about Lil Yane on this Talia. As a Talia fan myself, I certainly am happy to see it take to the Rift, especially with all of the combo, given the fact that they're going to be able to play off of Yasuo or at least set up for some big WEs. There's also the fact that you have a layered CC to allow for this champion to really get the best seismic shoves you would hope for. Kasana being able to land a knockup of their own, combined with Delicate able to target down any individual player on G2 side, all means that if Can We End can get some priority around objectives, G2 may just not be able to walk up whatsoever. They have a little bit of a line, but I don't think it's substantial enough to deal with the burst that CWE can bring to the table.
Yeah, we'll have to see how all of this plays out. Definitely a lot of focus onto this Vi and Nocturne. What can they find during these lanes? I mean, obviously Nocturne has the easier time going from like nothing to immediately ganking, but I mean Vi with a good flank in a lane also provides, I mean, just insane lockdown for the gank. So I'll definitely be paying tons of attention to how they path and how these junglers look to help their lanes potentially get ahead. Because I mean, that could be the difference between it all right here. That early lead, especially with such a volatile champion like the Yasuo.
All right, Cam, before we load onto the riff, I got a question for you. I'm looking at this table in front of our two lovely presenters on the German language broadcasts, and I got to ask, I get the Elder Dragon, I get the little caster minion. What is the cupcake for? Is that a Caitlyn reference? And if so, why does it have a face?
I wish I could give you an answer. However,
Yeah,
I have been wondering the same thing.
it's an interesting arrangement, right? Because you get all of these very clearly Riot affiliated little figurines. They also have a few backed off on the background there on the right. But you also just got a cupcake, you got a big chest, and you got a tanker that is very conspicuously empty. So not sure exactly what the set dressing's going for, but overall, I appreciate the effort for sure here in the Eagle Esports Cup. Just getting a nice little comfy area set up like this, I think is kind of representative of the tone of this competition as a whole. Yes, everybody is fighting for victory, but at the same time, I think everybody is also just happy to be able to strut their stuff on stage.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, I love the atmosphere coming out with like, you know, like the tavern mugs, the tavern chest, the random plants that no one knows what they are. Definitely a nice atmosphere going on here before we hop onto the Rift and get this game started. G2 Hell versus Can We End, both doing so well in their respective groups. Obviously, both of them going that 2-0 in their groups. We'll have to see. This should be quite the competitive and quite the strong game we have coming up.
Yeah, and what are you looking for out of the opening few minutes of this one, Cam? Because I know that this is once again not the most typical draft that you see out of competitive teams. For the second game running, we're getting some spice, and I'm super happy that that's the case because I know there's been a lot of complaints, and while there are always going to be complaints on Reddit and Twitter about the meta being stale, they seem particularly vociferous here in 13.11.
Yeah, I mean, I will totally just be looking to these jungle pathings. I think a level 3 gank could shake up these lanes, especially if it's countered in the other lane, and you could be looking at such volatile, like to just how crazy things can get around here. Cole being picked up for both ADCs, while Talia is gonna pick up the corrupting potion. Both junglers taking green smite and both top laners taking Doron shield. Definitely a lot of similarities across the place as, you know, Nico's creating questions in everyone's mind at the moment. TP are on both mid laners and both top laners as Zeri Rakan opting into the Exhaust Ignite over G2's Ghost and Ignite. So we'll have to see how all of this plays out.
Can We End is so aggressive, especially in that bot lane. We aren't seeing a cleanse to respect something like the Nautilus route. We aren't seeing a heal or a ghost as well to provide either extra mobility or a little bit more sustain during team fights. Cosmic wants to get in, and yeah, while they are able to reduce some of Kaltus's damage, this is not the same. They're, I think, trying to chase these champions down with the exhaust, get Kasana a better W grand entrance in. And also, I want to look at the fact that Lil Yane in the mid lane has gone for an Arcane Comet Talia build with Corrupting Pots. That's just not at all what I've seen as of late on this champion, but super excited that it's not only Can We End that's going aggressive, as G2 is going for a deep invade onto the enemy red buff.
Yeah, I mean, you love to see it. Vi is none the wiser at the current moment. Very good pathing overall, and then you have this coming out here. However, it is warded, so uh, can we end? You know, just get the hard push, put G2 in a little bit of an interesting spot. A big knock up and damage pumping out.
Yeah, Kasana commits early, and now it's a trade of ignites between these two supports who both respectively go pretty low. I don't really think that either team is particularly favored, although the wave state is such that Cosmic is pretty happy to just jam this in. They were able to repel Caltus and Calm BLBL's initial jump, and because that's the case, now the Nautilus are going to have to wait for another angle to go in and really make something happen. Delicate's ganking top, but while this is happening, you're kind of having a revolving door into G2's topside jungle because the Nocturne wants to walk over here. They're going to steal away some of the buffs. This isn't even vertical jungling. This is just wildness on the Rift.
Yeah, he's kind of just diagonal jungled at this point. Very funny overall how that worked out. Tifa we saw starting to roam up, potentially looking if Yasuo was going to overstay. I mean, they were on a ward the whole time, but I mean, if they weren't, that would have been, very nice roam potential if Yasuo continued to overstep, but nothing comes out. Talia continues to push the wave. Things still going as expected. Obviously, we see the Nautilus opting for the minion dematerializer. Very solid pickup for a lot of these supports that want, just to get the glacial augment, get those extra slows and stuff. A good rune option around there. However, I will take note that Delicate doesn't opt into the Oracle lens and instead just wants the stealth ward, which will allow Sheena better openings into these dragons and rift heralds and objectives going forward if no Oracle lens gets picked up for Can We End anytime soon.
Sometimes you're going to see that duty swapped off with the support going an early Oracle lens, but it looks like Kasana and Cosmic can't really afford to do that because of the ability for Sheena to just jump in with some big ganks early. And so it's just kind of stealth wards across the board, like you're talking about right now. And
Yeah.
while we do see good priority for CWE through bot, I think that G2 wants to put a stop to that relatively quickly here. Sheena is going to take a reset, be back on the Rift, and probably from there looking to get an early kill.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Sheena's definitely looking for as early as a level 6 as she can manage. Because, I mean, Nocturne level 6, not even like using it, but just the threat of it always being there creates such a questionable continuation of like pushing the wave. Like, yeah, you could crash it under turret, but we haven't seen Nocturne in a minute. So you never know when a good ult from Nocturne can come down, really shape up this lane.
Kasana going for the engage, even as Blue Squad is down a level in this 2v2. However, Column BLBL is already taking quite a bit of damage, and honestly, the spray from Cosmic is such that also Caltus is getting whittled low. So now CWE once again has established themselves with a pretty solid priority set on the bot lane, and now we got to pivot back over top where Delicate is trying to make something happen, and another 2v2. However, Lysia has to back. Sheena's just trying to hold the wave, and this is potentially diveable, particularly if we see Sana hit level 6 and get a good knockup.
Yeah, I mean the TP coming out from Urgot will stop any plans that Can We End had of diving them or anything. As ooh, the jump forward.
Yeah, and this is so deep, and Cultist is going to be able to get a huge blade collar. It is traded first blood, and actually 2 kills now over to Can We End for the fact that we do see the Nautilus get one back. I think that you're super happy for CWE in this situation. Zeri accesses one of the kills. They're further ahead on their call, and they have priority to jam this wave fully under the tower, while G2 is kind of now suffering off of this Xayah due to the fact that Sheen has been pushed and pulled across the map due to Delicate's aggression.
Yeah, and I mean it looked, kind of like a bit of a just more of a funny play, the 1-for-1 on the supports, but then very nice from Cosmic to pick up that extra kill. Now, I mean, total advantage over to Can We End here as Zeri gets to pick up the tier 2 boots and the Sheen just perfect first recall coming out with the refillable potions as well. Very happy with how all of that worked out as we see the replay. Just very aggressive from Rakan, really looking for any angle he can find. Obviously answered by the Nautilus, but the Ignite tick is just too much. The first blood comes out and Cosmic's able to answer the kill. So, I mean, yeah, CWE pick up the first blood, pick up an extra kill in the engage. Everything just went very well for them as Dragon's being started up.
I do want to issue a quick corrective now that we have a little bit of downtime as G2 is taking this relatively uncontested dragon. According to our illustrious producer, Bright, That cupcake that we saw during the presenter phase is actually just a Lulu polymorph for one of the skins, which is very, very silly. And I like the fact that
Oh.
Bright has access to that kind of trivia.
That is really interesting. Yeah, I did not know that they made merch of Lulu polymorph stuff. That's really cool.
It kind of like homemade in a way. I think that they're just a big fan of that Lulu skin.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, and I mean overall, also CWE have still the flash on Zeri as they continue forward.
Yeah, this is going to be a straight up ult into a near dive from Sheena, though, however, with the tower right there. And can we end having a flash available on Zeri? They will be able to withdraw towards that tier 1 tower. And that is the first Nocturne ult of the game taken off the map without a kill coming through for G2. And this is
Yeah.
oftentimes kind of a backbreaker in terms of early game tempo for this jungler.
Yeah, the paranoia comes out, goes right onto Zeri, but I mean, as I was just saying before it happened, Zeri had the flash, expends it to, escape the paranoia, and now the paranoia is on cooldown for a while. So, I mean, G2, I mean, still very happy to have picked up, first dragon, next dragon coming up with probably in like 4-ish minutes now, with a 1k gold lead on the side of CWE. I mean, overall, both teams kind of, I don't think either one's, like upset with the game state at the moment.
Not at all. We are kind of seeing G2 rally around this Rift Herald, trying to get themselves a second neutral objective. Urgot is now rotating down. Delicate's in the area, though, maybe poised to Q over the wall. However, this is now Shelly started up, and honestly, it's going to be hard for Blue Squad to access this many players, but they're sort of going to try. Here's the Weaver's Wall in, and that's splitting the fight. Can we end now? All of a sudden, has the man advantage versus Tifa, who does get a 3-man Pop Blossom, but Sana is there to clean up, and now that is full claim over Shelly to Can We End.
Yeah, I mean, that was very well done from Tifa. Got the root onto Delicate to stop their engage, but, Delicate expends the Vial to fly towards the Nico, gets the knockup, and I mean, Nico, just their Pop Blossoms just too little, too late, finds the great, 3-man knockup, but it's too late. Everyone's already left, and I mean, sure, you buy the time for everyone to go, but Delicate very happy to pick up the first Rift Herald for CWE and, can expend that into an even higher gold lead, which could in turn result in more dragons. So CWE probably very happy with, with the trade so far.
And we're in a position where G2, the favorites, dismantling Koi in game number 1 of knockouts today, are down quite a bit. They're down 1k overall. A lot of that is actually going to be concentrated on Sana, who is getting run down by Colum BLBL top. Although that wind wall reservation for the Nautilus hook is going to allow for this champion to live to see another day.
Yeah, and I mean that's the value of Yasuo top. I mean, it's a very volatile lane, but I mean we see the replay coming out here. The Weaver's Wall, great to split up. Vi ulting with the Yasuo ult in the back. They get out, but Nico just got caught out by the double ult usage on them.
I do wonder if there was an angle for G2 to jump in there off of the Pop Blossom, because hitting that many members and getting them to about half health gives me consideration that maybe Lysia could have done something, but alas, I think that the prudence from G2 makes that so it's not a full disaster of a play, and they still have the ability to jam and get back into this one. I believe that around the same time in game number 1, as we documented on the Contingent Esports channel cam, it was about this even to start off with before SK Gaming got a destructive lead from Red Side.
Yes, it was definitely quite similar. We're looking at about a 1.5k gold lead. Both Coles looking to be finished in just a few waves at this point. Both junglers, still leveling up. The paranoia on Nocturne is out, so we'll have to see how Sheena decides to path to get the most out of it. Starting to head up, if Yasuo keeps, being this pushed up, we could potentially see a paranoia come out as Delicate maybe looking for a dive.
A lot of control wards up here means that G2 is going to be aware of the fact that the Vi is encroaching upon Urgot's territory. Sana here just trying to contain things, but this champion's tanky. They're still going to commit for it. Here's the paranoia activated with the tower shots. Delicate's already going to fall in the 2v1. This is going to be a cleanup for G2, and that is the exact kind of play that we were talking about, Cam, to get the champions, the favorites of this tournament, in favor for this game.
Yeah, and I mean that's the issue of the Nocturne. They haven't seen the Nocturne in a while. They go for the dive, and I mean they just got absolutely punished for it. They didn't take into consideration the paranoia or the distance that Sheena may be, and they will fall for it. The dragon will be spawning up here. However, I mean, Vi is actually in a better position for it, but these turret plates over to the Urgot you will take any day, as the gold lead has shrunk to only 600.
And now with the 3v3 counts on the kills open, it feels like this is anyone's game, but can we end are clearly getting punished a little bit for some over aggression. They should have respected the Nocturne ult in this situation. Delicate is just pretty substantially behind the Nocturne at this point because of the fact that the farm was very much favoring Red Squad's jungler. And honestly, going for that dive against the Urgot is always super scary. The fact that we only see the Nocturne approach for the second kill of that fight already kind of speaks volumes about how disastrous that was for CWE. Now they have to lick their wounds, get back out onto the map, and hopefully they will not be phased by that because there's still a small goal lead that they could try to play off of.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I completely understand the play. They're like, okay, Nocturne level 6 Paranoia is so low distance, but what they didn't consider is the moment Delicate walked over that ward, I mean, it was a bit telegraphed. So Sheena stops doing their camp, immediately starts running up, and Vi takes just those few extra seconds to, start the tower dive that it gives Sheena enough time to get in range. Rift Herald will be dropped mid, will secure a plate and a half, but that's all it'll be, as now gold lead pretty much dead even. Dragons 1-1. We have quite the stalled out game state.
And we're close enough to the end of the third place that I think we could just kind of look at this early game state as what ultimately these two teams are packing against one another. It's now going to be a matter of moving towards third Dragon, maybe second Rift Herald to define the pace prior to the Baron Nashor spawn. Kasana is looking to maybe set up for something, but everybody has to respect Sheena, who is spotted out on that ward, looking for a little bit of a lane gank here. Can We End has the ability to maybe jump in with the Weaver's Wall, but this is still kind of a 50-50 fight due to how far away Delicate is and the fact that the Vi cannot really relocate to place as fast as you would expect.
Yeah, and I mean, before all of this comes out, we do see Zaya opting into the Kraken Slayer while still on 13.11. I mean, we've seen a bare few LPL ADCs doing it, but I mean, I've also been seeing a few LPL ADCs getting flamed for doing so on this new patch. So, I mean, we'll have to see what it can be converted into, but I'd say overall very good that that CWE don't go in on that fight down there, because Nocturne was was up their item over Vi there. Would have been a bit scary, but both teams deciding not to, just happy to get some more turret damage coming out, and things kind of revert back. A lane swap coming out. Urgot trying to protect the bot turret, but first turret of the game will go to the side of CWE.
And now G2 really has to make this Rift Herald that they pivoted over to worth it. Yes, they do have priority because of Caltis being up here, clearing out the wave, jamming into a tower of their own. But the fact of the matter is that extra bonus gold going over to a hyper carry like the Zeri, who's cashed out their call and gotten themselves to Triforce, is such a difficult prospect to push back against.
Yeah, and I mean, we see kind of all the mythic spikes being picked up, as Rift Herald getting started will be first Rift Herald for G2, but I mean, second overall. The Herald is picked up. We'll have to see what this can be converted into, but I mean, overall, things are pretty even with, I mean, a few gold advantages on either side in specific lanes, but I mean, most importantly, both of your ADCs practically right even with each other, just overall gold, which I mean, you're very, very happy to see, as this is Arian Zaya could be, the big differences in terms of damage output in these fights.
And already we've seen Caltus do quite a bit in the isolated 2v2 down bot side. They've gotten really good utilizations of blade collars that have kind of made some of these trades very dicey for Can We End, but that has not actually precipitated into a kill or anything like that. They are only at even CS with the Zerian. So Cosmic certainly is kind of a ticking time bomb right now. Zaya scales magnificently as well, but they really need to make their mark in the next team fight or so before I can say, yeah, G2 are going to slide in under the scaling power of CWE.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. We were looking at, yeah, I mean, Goldblade dead even, Rift Herald's dead even, Turret's dead even, Dragon's dead even. Like, it's hard to get a more dead even game state as potentially all of that changes.
Yep, that's a big engage, and Kasana is just gonna die in an instant. It's pretty scary to walk up alone like a Rakan when you are so close to this next dragon, and that grouping is gonna pay off dividends. The Rakan will be back up for Can We End to try to recontest over this dragon, but this is opening up so much space. Cosmic has to respect this charge of Shelly. Delicate's queuing over the wall, and they will be able to stop the tier 1 from actually just being taken down straight up, but still CWE cannot afford to lose those kinds of edges, and now they are slightly behind on gold.
Yes, you know, in retrospect, apologize for such a caster curse. I should have seen it coming with the spiel I started going on. But TP coming out here potentially just 5v5 fight for this dragon as it spawns its Ocean Soul map, obviously. Looking to pick up, you know, this first Ocean Dragon, start the stacking.
Yep, it's the full commit. G2 is also teleporting Lysia in through the mid lane on this Urgot as well. And at this point in the game, things really hang in the balance. And I gotta say, I don't have a clean read on who's gonna come out on top. Kaltis has not been able to cash out their kill onto Kasana. And because that is the case, they're pretty evenly matched with the Zeri right now, who has gotten themselves that Zeal alongside completed boots in the Triforce. However, this dragon doesn't actually seem to be something that Can We End is super concerned about. They're just trying to pressure the mid lane themselves now as G2 send only the Xayah and Nocturne over to grab that neutral objective.
Yeah, we see Urgot opting into the Titanic Hydra right off the bat. Oh, a fight has started.
Well, let's see if that's going to be the right call. Lysia just flashes over the wall, juking Can We End, getting to safety. But Sana has kind of gotten free reign over top side of the map because the Urgot has to take the long way home. And they're just going to be able to tank up the tower shots, get another one over to Can We End. And that gold is right back to even though that slight buff from the Ocean Drake could help G2 immensely.
Yeah, I mean, G2 will pick up another turret as well in the bot side of the map. And I mean, overall, things are just, just you know, like, and if an advantage comes out for CWE, one comes out for G2. If one comes out for G2, one comes out for CWE. They're kind of just trading blows. This will definitely be a very volatile game around these objectives of being super careful. Paranoia splitting up CWE will require very good communication to help defend against it.
I'm super happy to see the game hold this even into the 19-minute mark. I feel like a lot of the times when you're casting competitive leagues, you have a mix of stomps alongside some games that are kind of even, but not really, right? Here, it's really just going to be about how well these teams to see who will come out victorious. And it looks like G2 set of a flash hook from Nautilus are currently in position to maybe move over to this Baron Nashor that's spawning up in about 15 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, they're after, even without the pick, but I mean, you always take the pick, but I mean, Tifa has that stopwatch, has the ult up. Sure, you expend 3 ults on the side of G2 to make that happen, while you only expended 1 on CWE. The 4v5 is just so hard to pull off. Nico's mid gonna look to head on over, but I'd expect this to just be a Baron, but hope potentially Delicate looking for a steal.
Yeah, and there is access to the pit through Lil Gane, although they are completely zoned through this choke point due to all the burst damage that G2 has, and everybody from Can We End just kind of has to back off, although same can be said for G2, who realize that they cannot siege this topside river anymore, and so they will peel off Can We End using a lot of resources, but at the end of the day, they do prevent that Zeri death from translating over into a Baron Nashor for G2.
Yeah, the Nico ult just barely missing could have hit almost the entire team with the flash, but potentially not looking to, you know, get that far in, get that just get just the risk they don't deem worth it. They rather just peel off the Baron, don't need to fight it, you know, the literal millisecond it spawns. They'll be happy just to pick up buffs on their teammates, just looking, they're up 1k gold. Dragon up in potentially 2 to 3-ish minutes. So G2 very happy to play around soul stacking as they'll only need about, you know, 9 more minutes to really get to that situation where they could start popping up the Elder.
I'm getting some information from our production that we're having some issues with Discord. I might be cutting out here and there. Apologies if that's the case, guys. We're trying to make things work kind of on a quite the time crunch here, but we're still very happy to be able to bring what we can at the very least of
Yeah.
this Equal Esports Cup. Also, sorry, Cam, if it's the case that you cannot hear me half the time.
No, no, no. It was for probably like two sentences for a little set. It is very okay.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, I don't know if anybody else is having this issue on your own Discords, but I'm also just struggling to send any number of messages. It's super wonky right now. I don't know why.
Yeah, not sure. Can't say I've been going through that, but uh, interesting to note Talia opting into the Leandries, just looking to get that overtime damage. Burning down the Urgot, who we can expect to be stacking HP with that Titanic Hydra. Uh, it makes a bit of sense. Zeri opting into, the Triforce Runins build. I mean, I'm personally a fan of going the Titanic Hydra second on Zeri, but I mean, I
Mhm.
understand the value of picking up, the Runins second.
And now the question, Cam, is can we end actually go to contest this next dragon? As this is quite clear priority over to G2. However, when you look at itemization, it isn't like Can We End is that far behind. The gold gap isn't such that G2 is a full mythic up over anybody or something like that. Perhaps there's a little bit of a gap there between the two AD carries, given the fact that there's a crit cloak available for Kalitas. But let's see what happens as this is a full engage. But I don't know if G2 respects the number of Can We End members in the area. It looks like they knew that they could clean up, though. That's a double kill for the Nocturne. And now with Vi entering on into the fray alongside Sana, only Cosmic is left alive. And unfortunately, Zeri just did not find any purchase during that team fight, even with the lightning crash. G2 happily able to make it over to the Baron Nashor. Now, may split objective. Let's see if Zeri tries to rush the dragon or something like that. But regardless, this is all of a sudden a huge stopgap of the game that G2 is profiting from.
Yeah, I mean, with Zeri so itemized for, that the multi-target damage, just the AoE damage coming out. Tifa potentially gets caught out, but will just flash away. But yeah, Cosmic isn't exactly itemized enough to take objectives quick at all, to be honest.
Mhm. That is definitely true, and therefore they're going to respect the fastbacks of G2, take down the tier 1 tower, and give T for the fight of a lifetime. Taking the flash away from the Nico is actually going to be super valuable because it means that you have to be really, really judicious about how you use your pop blossoms. But yet again, Can We End are kind of in a disadvantaged state trying to push over to this bot side river just because they don't have everybody back up and ready to present the united front. Now we see Sana moving in, stacking up off of the Raptor. But is this too little too late is the question. G2 have control over the pit, and the dragon is getting whittled low already. Zeri has not been able to go for much in the way of a reset, so they're sitting on the same items here, and it looks like because that's the case, dragon is just going to be easily claimed by G2, and now they're looking for a fight. Yasuo dives onto the back end, but Kaltis, yet again, untouched during this team fight, is running a train through Can We End, and this time Zeri will not be able to get out as their fellow AD carry claims a quadra kill. It's another team fight totally in favor of the favorites of this tournament, and I think this could just be it.
Yeah, almost the pentakill onto G2, showing up. G2 Hell showing why they're so strong, coming off of winning Pathfinders Split 1 into being such dominant forces in this tournament so far. They won't be able to end off this, but they'll get some very good push. And I mean, with the gold lead looking at 7K, it looks a bit bad. The replay going in now, the Nautilus hook, the Pop Blossom finding 3, Nocturne jumping onto the Zeri in the back. The front to back's impossible to play when G2, they knock up your front line, jump into your back line, and suddenly there's nothing you can do.
And it's unfortunate that Can We End find themselves stumbling this late into the game because now 25 minutes is not kind of a bandwidth by which Cosmic all of a sudden outstrips Kaltis in terms of their ability to do damage during a team fight. And God forbid that, Isaiah gets this many kills above Zeri that's already kind of been struggling to keep up in itemization. Now we're in a position where it's going to take forever for Can We End's scaling team composition to actually matter in this game. There's about a 10 to 15 minute mark by which G2 is able to do whatever they so desire on the map. And the fact that they still have this Baron Nashor buff is just going to continue to put the hurt down onto Can We End. Nocturne so confident just diving in, knowing that Columbia LBL is going to be there to follow up, and Caltus is just going to rain down hellfire, helping Sheena get a double kill of their own. And now with the empowered wave getting cleared out by Caltus, they're going to shove this into the tier 2 top.
Yeah, I mean, this becomes so hard to play. CWE unable to get any wards down anywhere, will be unable to know if Nocturne's anywhere in the area. And I mean, as we always talk about with these games, the luxury buys from G2 Hell are insane. Nocturne, Nico, and Xayah all with stopwatches to their names. Urgot picking up the Radiant Virtue, which I love to see. I've been hearing that Urgot running Redemption is actually very good for him. So I'm loving these new supportive Urgot builds that we're seeing come out. But overall, just the amount of goal difference coming out here as we get into the replay, the paranoia onto the Yasuo or onto the Talia is just great as the Nautilus hook comes out, and there's just nothing they can do.
And it's so smart with the target selection of Sheena to go for the Talia first. They know that Delicate cannot do a whole lot to control this champion, given the gold gap that now exists between the two junglers. And therefore, you got to get onto the burst damage first and foremost. G2 also with great rotation into enemy territory, make sure that the play goes totally in their favor because of Caltus and Columbia LBL's presence there. It's just impressive showings for sure. And Can We End now are not only on the back, but very much worried about being eliminated from this tournament.
Yeah, and I know you like to ask me questions. So, I'll prop one over to you. How do you kill a Xayah that has ult, GA, and shield bow?
Riddle me this, Nyarko. I don't know. I don't think there's anything you can do, although this is a pretty good pick into some squishy members of G2. Paranoia going to be activated. Columbia LBL will kill Kasana, and unfortunately, Can We End is yet again left empty-handed off of a very heads-up move into that bush. G2 are able to rally and pick up 2, which really is an indictment of what kind of advantage they have in this game.
Yeah, and now you're staring down the barrel of a 10k gold lead being pushed into your base. I mean, Xayah expended the ult, but still hasn't used everything as the fight is just clean.
Yep, and that's Zeri dead, and the GA has not even been popped quite yet. Caltus super happy to continue to lead this charge, and yeah, that was only his shield bow gone. The first line of defense for an AD carry, which is crazy to say given how vulnerable marksmen usually are. And once again, Columbia LBL does not miss with these hooks. That's going to be the Rakan dying. Caltus just kills their husband, and now they're able to get even more off of that blade collar. It's only the Vi left at the end of this one. Sheena has the luxury to go golden while the Nexus towers fall, and Yasuo and everybody diving back in will lead to Can We End. Unfortunately, giving up the ghost, they fought until the bitter end, but sometimes
Oh, yeah.
burning out is just as bad as burning to bits. G2 get the victory here, and they will move on to finals.
Yeah, very well played overall. Such a close game for so long, but G2 Hell just able to find those great paranoias, just absolutely great team fights overall. We're able to turn it into what looked like a stomp all the way through. If you're looking at the endgame screen, you'd never imagine how close it was until that point.
All right. Well, we have just witnessed one of our finalists find their berth into what is going to be the championship round. G2 looking so good, still remaining undefeated in Cam. That means that I think it's time that we go to a quick break. Let's see what happened on the other side of the bracket. Let's see what's going to happen in the consolation match, and then we will be on for grand finals. We'll see you guys in a
Oh,
few minutes.
yes.
Hello, friends, and welcome back for the Equal Esports Cup consolation bracket, where we have Can We End versus SK Avarosa, two teams we have documented so far in their runs through playoffs today. But Cam, their match will end here, and let's see who's going to be able to walk away with a place on the podium.
Yeah, third place obviously still in contention for both of these teams. The loser, I mean, still happy to walk away fourth, but obviously want to fight here for third place. Both of these teams, we've seen them both so far, will be very fun to see how they mesh against each other.
Yeah, for sure. Can We End and SK Avarosa are kind of the same sides of the coin in a way, depending on if they play the way that they did in the matches that we saw them showcased in. Unfortunately, Can We End was not able to get to victory off the back of a scaling composition. Avarosa, on the other hand, kind of slaughtered people, but it was in such a way that they were able to still kind of scale up by virtue of just having a big wallet diff. And therefore, I think that we could still see a lot of clashes between these two teams because Can We End, even with their composition, did play aggressively themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw Can We End? It was such a close game versus G2 Hell until obviously G2 Hell got full control and with a 10k gold lead. And I mean, it looked like an utter destruction, but that early game, that early mid game was just so strong. They played their lane so well, traded when they needed to, and I mean, they looked really good. It'll definitely be up to both teams to, you know, show that level of play once again. Can they fight for this third place? Can they take that stance on the podium, like you said?
For sure. And now, Can We End as a roster, I believe, are going to be up against the side selection of SK Avarosa, who's coming in, I think, slightly higher seeded overall. I'm not 100% sure how the format is working, though, so I could just be, talking out my behind, as it were. Regardless, of what team goes on blue or red, I think that we're going to be seeing a dynamic draft. Both teams have shown that not only do they have a read on the meta, they are willing to pick some kind of funky things on one side or the other, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, both of these teams did win 2-0 in their respective groups, and I mean, their groups both featured, some strong names. Can we end beating out the group with Vitality in it? SK winning out the group with Koi in it. So, very strong showing overall, and I mean, it's hard to say that either team is, like, really that favored. I think we'll see just clean gameplay. I think it'll be heavy focus on the draft here, on the coaches to prep something strong and really good for these teams here.
And at the same time, though, both of them did suffer defeat, but it's on the hands of very different teams, right? You have G2 defeating Can We End, which was expected, but SK Avarosa dropping to Big Chroma is not something that I had in the cards, and perhaps Big Chroma is either on a Cinderella run or SK Avarosa is just stumbling right now.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. Getting into this draft will be very interesting. We'll have to see. Will they go for the same sort of style? Like, will Can We End try and go for another like Yasuo knockup comp? Or now that that's failed, do they have backup pivots? Are they just looking like, okay, yeah, we lost that game. Draft wasn't what we really wanted. Let's pivot into what else we have planned, and I'm so very interested to see what that might be.
Well, we're about to get into the pick ban phase in just a few moments, but before we do so, we're back on this lovely tavern-like atmosphere, and we have a little bit more context now as to what that face cupcake was. But I still don't know what that big trophy in the background is. Is that, in fact, what these teams are going to be hoisting if they emerge victorious in this tournament?
I don't know, but I guess we will have to see. I do also like how there's just the nice golden chalice just completely knocked over on the desk.
For sure, for sure.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that there's also like some other weird set pieces that I want to touch upon. What is that like kind of silver metal thing right in front of the table between the two of them that is kind of going out of the shot?
I'm not sure. There's a teddy bear back there.
Oh yeah, is that Tibbers? I don't think Tibbers has fangs like that.
That is not Timbers.
Yeah, he has like stitching across the belly and all. That's just a random teddy bear, you know. It is a false simulacrum of a Tibbers.
I mean, yeah, I love the set work that's come out from these guys so far. We'll have to be so fun to jump into this draft. Expecting a lot from these two teams, coming into the tournament, especially coming into the knockout stage after winning 2-0 in their groups. Obviously, it'll be a shame that one of these teams, walk away fourth, but the shining light of the team that makes third makes it all worth it in the end.
And I'm very happy that we do get this consolation rather than both teams just kind of being read as 3 to 4th place, as you sometimes see in those announcements after a tournament is over. The fact that one of these will, in fact, be able to grab themselves a bronze medal is really, really nice stuff. And it gives us another round to talk about. Obviously, we're having a few delays and difficulties getting into the draft proper, but we'll be over there soon and surely. I love the fact that while we are casting and stalling and trying to buy for time, we're watching these two German presenters who are lovely and wonderfully dressed, by the way. But they too are also like, crap, we got to talk about something, man.
Yes, they are definitely salvaging the bottom of the barrel talking about these teams, but I mean, luckily there's quite enough to talk about. We will have to see how things keep moving onwards. Hopefully we should be hopping into draft within the next few minutes. I don't believe it'll be that long of delays, but at the same time I don't know what is causing the delays, but we will march forward nonetheless.
And that's because we don't speak German.
That is a big issue.
All right, which of the two outfits would you like to wear, Cam? Because I do think that like the business, not business casual, but rather the esports business casual of our wonderful presenter on the right is very nice and it's good color blocking. I love sheer tops, although I can't really pull them off myself. I think that I would try to take the risk, if we're on camera.
I think I'd love to show up in the most casual clothes possible. What I like to refer to as the Adam Sandler dress.
Oh no, just massive baggy basketball shorts and a white t-shirt.
Yeah, normal shirt, maybe even Crocs. Just show up, be that sight to behold.
Yeah, I've always wondered what I would wear to a LAN because I feel like going for a button-up shirt is too stuffy, but I feel like I don't actually look really good in t-shirts. I'm just too lazy to wear anything else when I'm doing a remote broadcast. I mean, I'm not even wearing pants right now. Good thing we don't have cameras on.
Well, that is quite a lot of information being shared at the moment. Hopefully, draft can get started here in a moment.
Yeah, I'm just making Cam progressively more uncomfortable as we try to further our banter. I've seen that you've been playing a lot of League of Legends. How are you feeling about the new patch?
I'm quite happy with it. I mean, we had obviously Clash happened last night. Went on a nice 3-0 run.
Nice,
Uh,
nice.
very happy with that. Looking to run it all back. New patch, very nice. I'm glad that Zeri isn't nerfed yet. Sucks for pro play. Very nice for me. I will continue playing Zeri. No one can stop me.
Uh, I mean, I'm a Zeri apologist. I really enjoy watching this champion. And as we just saw, that God can bleed, can we end? Grab themselves a Zeri and were unable to make it work versus the team fighting prowess of the Xayah from G2. Now, maybe they're going to go for the salty run back here. Let's see if SK Avarosa will allow them to do so. I believe when we casted them, they were happy to deny basically every marksman from blue side.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Zeri gets a bit of slack from what Yumi has done to her. I think without Yumi, Zeri would receive a lot less hate. So
Hmm.
I'm hoping that, some 13-12 nerfs are targeting, a specific animal a lot more than, the owner of said animal.
I would actually disagree because if Yumi isn't a problem, they're gonna have to focus on something because Reddit will never have their rage contained, even if the meta's in a good spot, right? So they're just gonna complain about Zeri then without the Yumi presence.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're still gonna complain, but it does seem that I'm having a few buffering issues. If I could get our producer to perhaps stream so I could be on sync with everyone.
Yep, works for me. Don't know if it works for Bright. I think that they may be out right now. Oh no, they have
Oh,
returned in fact. So everything is
okay.
getting coordinated on that front. But we have plenty of time with which to kind of map out and iron out our difficulties as we're still waiting for the draft to start, man.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's just fun stalling, right? Just warming up. Not that we need one, but I'd say we're quite warmed up after all these things, but still chugging on.
Yo, let me tell you the story of my cast last night, actually, because it seems like we have
Oh,
the time. I was casting Metashift. It was the last week, and it was the top team versus one of the very bottom teams, and
oh,
both were locked to either not go to playoffs or go to playoffs. And they decided to, in game number 2, after our top seeded team obviously won in dominant fashion, go for a for-fun draft on both sides. And what we got from that was a miserable experience where our producer was denied the ability to go play Clash because we went deep into game number 3. So
oh.
shout outs to Caddy. I'm really sorry that that was the case, that we had our teams troll it on broadcast because, like, what the heck was I supposed to say about a game with the Timo Mundo bot? But we are finally into a actually sane draft here, Cam, with Can We
Yeah.
End versus SK Avarosa taken to the Rift. It looks like SK is going to be on blue side. Kind of builds upon my suspicions that they were in fact a higher seeded team than Can We End. But I think that the competition is going to be fierce for this one as both are looking to vie for third place in this tournament. And now we're looking at the bans. Xayah, Nico, currently denied by SK Avarosa. Can We End kind of gambiting back though, seeing if SK Avarosa are either going to first pick the Zeri or knock it away. Now with the Emilio ban, it looks like the ball's back in Can We End's court.
Yeah, I mean, definitely heavy focus into this mid bot lane at the moment. Both teams trying to get things out. I love these bot lane bans from Can We End. They banned them as Fortune and Nyla. I'm sure they have. I mean, yeah, after we saw Nenris on the Samira, I mean, you can already make assumptions about the type of champions they'd like, but they do leave the Samira open as Jarvan picked up for SK Avarosa. Obviously, very good champion at the moment. Has the really nice ult engage. Being picked up a lot more recently, as Can We End will respond with a Zeri.
And I think Can We End are very happy to get this back over to the hands of Cosmic because the Zeri was not the problem in their last game versus G2. Certainly, if we had better facilitation and just a more coherent team fight, Can We End could have taken it up against the favorites of the whole tournament. But I think returning to getting this champion is giving them immense carry potential come late, as Avarosa has to answer back, and they're going to do so with a Jinx. And we're getting kind of a twisted mirror on either side of this draft so far. We have that high-tempo Demacian spear-oriented jungler with the Xinjiao coming through for Can We End, and Jarvan the fourth for Avarosa. Now, let's see if we're going to go Engager for Engager. I doubt that that's going to be the case here, but we'll see what Liliana is going to be able to lock in for, most likely Kasana.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of Zeris picked up, but no Yumis at all. I'm starting to wonder if, the teams have handshaked and decided that Yumi,
Yumi's banned.
no one's gonna pick it. Yeah, Yumi just is banned by the tournament, but Braum picked up really good counter engage coming into, the Nautilus jumping in, the Jarvan jumping in. Braum, very, very nice pickup here.
Yeah, I like the Braum quite a bit. I feel this champion is massively underrated. Although whenever I try to play him in solo queue, I understand why nobody wants to grab it. It's kind of a miserable experience into even hard engage, because you're taking most of your health bar in damage when someone like Push wants to jump in. And we've already seen that this is a very, very competent Nautilus player on SK Avarosa's side. But Braum is happy to sacrifice. That's kind of his purpose and goal, but it always kind of sucks when you're playing a support that is like intended to die, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And we see CWE looking to ban out the Kennen and the Seraphine, which, I mean, the Seraphine we saw picked up by SK Avarosa makes a ton of sense, especially with showing such a similar goal and team comp to what they want to pick the Seraphine into. SK Avarosa picking up the Pantheon and the Olaf, looking to ban out, those top lane champions, looking to give Wolfie that strong matchup. I mean, we saw they had a great game on Kennen. As Can We End now posturing for this Kassadin. I'm kind of glad that now they're posturing for the Orianna. Much better pickup overall, I'd say. I'll have to see if they go for it, and they do. I like this Orianna pick.
Yeah, the Kassadin would have been pure suffering into a very easily roaming Nautilus for Push, and Empress being on the Jarvan the fourth, so they're going to go for a slightly safer but still control mage-oriented option here. I like the fact that you're able to facilitate some big plays that combos with the AoE damage of Glacial Fissure from Kasana as well. That Shockwave going to be a huge boon to the team, and it will allow for Cosmic to really open up upon the squishy members of SK Avarosa. That being said, the number of actually squishy members of Blue Squad has been limited by the fact that they're now going for a blind Ornn for the top lane, and now it's all up to Kasana to wrap up the draft for Can We End. Let's see who they're going to be taking for Sana.
Very interesting hover. I was going to say potentially going Zeri top into Ornn, which is a matchup I've actually seen played a few times, but it seems they are just going to be posturing for the Darius and are happy just to go Darius, but they go Alawi last second. Alawi into the Ornn. Very, very good pickup. We saw Alawi played versus Gragas in the Disguised Toast versus Delta Fox show match, and hopefully CWE looking to get the same sort of value out of this Alawi as Disguised Toast were able to.
Poor Skara, man. It really kind of felt like there was nothing to do to play against Alawi. Obviously, this is a champion that actually can be countered, can be answered back against. But SK Avarosa does have to kind of walk on eggshells, because once this champion hits level 6, you can lose easy 3v1s. It's kind of crazy what the team fighting prowess of this champion is. But at the same time, if Grofia is able to just remain stable and get guaranteed value out of this Ornn and deny Alawi building towards those items that allow for her to become a split pushing monster, once again, Can We End could be in a position where they just kind of have a useless lane, as was the dynamic that we were highlighting in the SK Avarosa matchup from earlier. So perhaps Lightning will strike twice in that way, but this time favoring SK.
Yeah, I mean, like Ornn versus Alawi, like it sounds great for Alawi until you take into the fact that Ornn is so happy to end the lane 0-0 with you. That is hard winning for this Ornn if he gets out of this lane and you're both 0-0. Like sure, Alawi might have won, got platings, but that doesn't matter. Ornn has so much better scaling that this Alawi really needs this Ornn to misplay, pick up a few kills, start getting gold, and then potentially finding a great ult. But I mean, I'm a little scared that potentially, like Tibbers could come out, some knockups from Ornn, Nautilus, and potentially Alawi just not unable to find like exactly what they'd want. But all they need is that one good team fight, and they're in the game.
I do wonder if the fact we're seeing multiple allowing competitive games as of late is going to be a sign of things to come once we see a lot of the professional leagues take off. I think that this champion has legs. We saw Moose Hater jam it a few times during NACL's first split as well. Rest in
Yeah,
peace, Moose Hater. Rest in peace. Well, I'm not gonna say rest in peace to NACL. Hopefully,
yeah.
NACL will continue onwards. I sure hope it does because of my podcast and whatnot. Check out the Salt Mine Pod, by the way, as we waffle for more time as we're about to enter into this game.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, Moose Hater definitely building up. I mean, he kind of showed the world the Garen counter to Cassante, pulled out by Evil Geniuses, and I mean that was Garen's first ever game played. Garen has 100% win rate in LCS with one game played, and I mean I think teams should be picking Garen more into Cassante. It's such a strong counter. However, teams are just worried about the downfalls of having a Garen on their team. But if it works out, if it gets ahead, like it's such a good counter into that Cassante.
Myra from NRG was talking about how part of Garen's efficacy was just because nobody had the ego to, or rather people had too much of an ego to ever ban the champion. And that just kind of allowed for Moose Hater to get wild card to a very comfortable spot within the NACL. But we do have to pivot back from this discourse and look at our current draft once again, because it's actually an Alawi, not a Garen, that we need to talk about here. This is another champion that I think is kind of similar to Garen, where you need to do a lot, but you're very telegraphed in what you're able to do during the laning phase. Yet it still must pay off. Now, it's certainly the case that Delicate can support this champion and maybe even go for some dives versus Gwilfiag, but at the same time, we also saw Delicate Sada set up for a dive in their last game versus G2, and that basically solo lost Can We End that match.
Yeah, that play definitely did not go well. We will have to see, as we should hopefully be hopping onto the Rift within seconds, potentially a minute, as we are finally getting into the match for third place. Winner walks away with the third place cash reward, the podium, and
Bragging rights on Twitter.
yeah, bragging rights on Twitter. Get it onto your resume. It looks just a little bit better for these pro players. And fourth place will, just remember what could have been.
Yeah, a lot on the line, and I'm so surprised that these are going to be the compositions that people are gambling on. We have Apollonia on the Annie. I don't know how I feel about this pick in general. I think that it's kind of outranged, especially versus the Orianna, but they have similar AoE impact during a team fights, and obviously, if this champion is able to just get the burst combo out and push towards that second item, Shadow Flame in most cases, you can melt through champions like Cosmic.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. We see both ADCs picking up Cole, Alawi going the refillable while Orin just goes the Doran shield, and both mid laners picking up Doran's ring with Annie opting into the stopwatch rune. And we see Nautilus going obviously the relic shield while Braum opts into steel guards just so he can get the autos just a little bit easier with the AD.
Yeah, overall, these are pretty standard. I'm not a big fan of steel shoulder guards on Braum, but I don't think it matters one way or the other a whole lot in terms of their stats. I know that this is kind of a posture that you take against tanks and engagers like Pyush on this Nautilus, in fact, because you're just going to be autoing them down to set up your passive.
Cool.
Overall, though, I think this is a very, very balanced opening start. I love the fact that the current meta with these AD carries is just opting as deep into hard scaling as possible. Both are going Cull. That's very confident. Both are on Flash Ghost as well. I don't know how I feel about that, especially for Cosmic, who probably needs a cleanse up against Apollonia and Pyush, but we're going to have to see.
Yeah, we will see, all right. We have double TPs on both sides, top and mid, opting into those, which, I mean, makes sense. Annie versus Orianna, you're definitely not expecting solo kills to be coming out in these lanes. Like, that requires heavy misplay. We'll see just, standard trading all around the place. Maybe Nautilus can find a good hook, but I don't think much will be happening in this early game.
Well, there is a good hook onto Kasana, who at level 1 doesn't really have a lot of tools available to actually stop the damage from going down onto them. And the Zeri Kyosh there is just going to eat a single Braum Q. But Cosmic is so worried about just maintaining this wave that they can't actually really proc the stun or anything like that. And so that's going to be a level 2 power spike first for SK Avarosa through the bot side of the map. But now with the wave this pushed in, I don't think that's going to lead to anything crazy.
Yeah, it shouldn't realistically. Kind of just, you know, standard things going on. We'll mostly be looking to these objective fights, especially like both teams. You never know when Orianna Shock Blast is gonna come out. You never know when a Flash Tibbers is gonna come out of nowhere. It'll be very fun to see. It'll obviously very volatile around these objectives for both of these teams. It's where they want to be, it's where they want to fight, but we'll have to see if the junglers let them get there easily, or if they'll put up, you know, good fights, good ganks, and really threaten, really threaten the scaling on either team.
Well, Empress is setting up for a massive flank onto Sana, who's very low in this play. And this is a good chance at first blood for SK Avarosa. The Alawi is going to W forward, but there's just absolutely nothing that the champion can do that pushed up versus a ganking Jarvan. And so they will preserve their flash, but give first blood over to SK.
Yeah, very, very well done. I mean, just as we were saying, the first death on Alawi is really bad for what Alawi wants to do. I mean, it's not the worst in the sense of Alawi will still keep doing what she wants to do, but Ornn just recalled bot 2 cloth armor, while Alawi only responds with a longsword. So I mean, Ornn loving what happened. Getting that Jarvan, that extra gold, will make it so much easier to pick up these kills in other lanes and could set up SK for a very, very good early game.
Canwe and top laner cannot afford to ease off the gas pedal, though, because if they do manage to get a kill back onto Wolfie, we could find ourselves in a position where the Alawi will be able to force the Ornn into a long walk to the tower. Now mid lane, we have Apollonia just dying in an instant to Delicate, so Canwe is going to be able to answer back in at least one lane. And we got a sudden feed cut back to the casters. Not sure what that's all about, but, you know, it's happy to see the lovely faces again.
Yeah, probably just you know, producer accidentally clicks the wrong button, realizes immediately, oh no, it clicks back immediately. Always love to see it.
Not something that our lovely producer would do, no, not at all.
You see Alawi getting very good trading, hits the E for all that extra damage, and I mean, fighting Alawi is just unfun, as some could say.
Yeah, Wolfie is still trying to trade back, and given that they have the tower right there, I think that they're more intent on just whittling the Alawi low than anything else. We're getting a replay now, looking at this gank from Empress once again. I love that navigation through the tri-bush that was unwarned, and Sana doesn't realize till the last second that they have Empress breathing down their neck, and now they're just in a situation where they can't even trade a kill back after missing the test of spirit.
Yeah, just very well played from the Jarvan. Picks up that first blood, which you love to see. Wait, when did Delicate get a kill?
Delicate got the kill mid lane versus Apollonia.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay, yes, my bad. I thought maybe while we were gone on the replay for a second, the kill had happened. Okay.
Yeah, that was the Xin Zhao gank. Trading back, meaning that both of these teams are still relatively symmetrical. Sana, though, is respecting Wolfie quite a bit, having to flash out of the way of that headbutt, not wanting to get knocked up, even though the Alawi is at level 6 versus the Ornn's level 5.
Yeah, I mean, didn't want to risk potentially, I mean, unsure completely of what their XP might be, especially after getting the kill XP, unsure if like the next minion that falls could grant it while they're locked up, so they just flash respect it. Obviously, it looks a little silly in retrospect now that Ornn didn't hit level 6, but I mean, if they did, Alawi could have just been dead there without expending the flash, so very well done from them. And now Jarvan pushes mid.
Yep, and he's going to get a knock-up onto Little Yane, and while Kasana is coming through, I don't know if that shield's going to be enough to keep the Orianna alive. Actually, I spoke too soon. Kasana is just able to kill Apollonia, who runs way too far forward with that positioning misplay. The Annie's going to die for a second time, and SK Avarosa find themselves down near 1,000 gold.
Yeah, very well done from Can We End. They get the Orianna out of there. They wait on getting their jungler in, and now they're pressuring the first dragon. Nautilus running on down, but doesn't know what's happening. So will just be first Chemtech Dragon over to Can We End. Not not the craziest value, but the extra tenacity will be, you know, quite useful for, you know, those Annie ults, Nautilus route, all that sort of stuff. But it also, the biggest thing is now the teams know that a potential Soul win con is on the table.
And yeah, that's definitely something to keep an eye on. Can we end grabbing that first dragon, just keeping the pressure up, means that they have a great early game to mid ramp for the Zeri to get online. And now the burden is kind of off this champion getting a ton of kills right now. They just got to wait for the team fights as we see the replay coming through. Look at that shockwave locking up Empress and Apollonia long enough for Delicate and Kasana to run in there, and they completely save that champion's life.
Yeah, not many times do you see the Guardian rune actually, you know, equating to a genuine save, but it has saved Orianna's life. The Guardian on Braum absolutely saves Orianna. Very well done. Orin tries to jump forward, but, you know, he had his soul pulled, so he absolutely loses that trade. Alawi is down gold, but only by a factor of double digits, so not really anything to consider as, you know, Can We End find themselves in about a 600 gold lead. Not much really has happened or transpired, or probably will be transpiring in a little bit as the next dragon's up in 3.5 minutes. Or, of course, as I say that, I have caster cursed once again.
A little bit of a setup here mid as Lil Yane is just going to be jumped on, and that Cataclysm is keeping the Orianna finally close enough to Apollonia for the kill to be secured this time. And now Empress does have to try to get out away from Delicate, and with that flag and drag back in, they're able to push through the ultimate of Delicate, and actually now SK have tied the game up entirely.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Delicate going back in there, because even if you pick up one, you still are 100% always trading your life back. Annie just gets their passive back up, uses their ability, stuns them up, and there's not much Delicate can do. Very well played overall. The gold lead about even, but this gold on this Jarvan and Annie will make these team fights just that much easier.
And I was really hoping to see Can We End maintain their priority and value through Delicate, but now we're in a position where Empress is probably going to be able to 1v1 a Xin Zhao, which is not something that you really get to see all that often. But fact of the matter is that jungle priority being dropped a little bit in favor of SK Avarosa is going to give Cosmic a more difficult time, even as these bot lanes have been massively de-emphasized this game.
Yeah, definitely not. Like, yeah, as you're saying, definitely bot lane's kind of just on an island this time around, as, you know, gold lead completely stable. First dragon is on the side of Can We End. 2 minutes until that, but SK will trade over and just get the Rift Herald. So things are, you know, very, yeah, very just even.
Yeah. And Can We End getting this Rift Herald is going to be valuable for them, as there's still plenty of time to drop Shelly in the lane and get some plates. That could be the gold that pushes them back into a period of priority. SK Avarosa will have to play a little bit safer now that they've decided to not contest the Rift Herald. But I think at the same time, SK Avarosa have the champions with which to play defensively. You try to go for some kind of crazy tower dive so you get the most optimal Shelly drop, and Empress is right there with the Cataclysm to ensure that you're taking tower shots.
Yeah, for sure. We see some emote game coming out from this Orianna here. Still getting the mental advantage, but running down bot, we could see something happen.
Yeah, Empress is going to follow up on this depth charge from Push, who will just direct all their abilities towards Kasana. And this Braum, while they are sustaining for a while, is not able to hold off the tide from getting onto Cosmic. And so Lightning Crash is not enough for the Zeri to start getting some crazy resets and building movement speed. At the end of the day, Can We End is just going to lose the support for nothing. But Delicate trades right back against Apollonia in the mid lane, and the Super Mega Death Rocket lands onto the wrong person. And so because we see the Xin Zhao with the free lane, I think this is just going to be a Rift Herald drop or close to it, as Scavarosa therefore has to rotate up with their Nautilus, and now that Orianna is kind of on the run into River, I think they probably just get to safety because of all the priority that Sana has topside.
Yeah, I did not know you could flash the Xin Zhao poke like that, and the range will go with it. Very well done from Delicate to pick up that kill on the Annie. Allows, you know, Orianna to continue up that gold lead just a little bit, as we see Annie kind of the focus of can we end in terms of bullying. They are all 3 of the deaths at this point, and they're really looking to get this Orianna in a spot where they can provide, you know, that the shockwave that's more valuable than, you know, an Annie Tibbers might be.
At the same time, none of the kills have gone over to Liliana, and even though they're up on CS, it isn't such a backbreaking change of events that Can We End have a clear carry mid. I think that I'm still keeping an eye on Cosmic to pop off and have a certified Zarya moment during one of these team fights. Other things to note on the map is that Sada, even though they haven't gotten killed, is kind of thrashing Wolfie just by virtue of grabbing so many plates. They actually are able to knock down the whole tower prior to the plates falling at the 14-minute mark, and that means that, yeah, Wolfie is walking away from the lane 0-0, but I don't really know if this is exactly what I was envisioning when we were talking about the Ornn going even, or even just hard winning versus the Alawi.
Yeah, I mean, in my analysis, I had said, you know, like Alawi might get a few plates, but Ornn's happy to end 0-0. But you know, I think potentially Alawi got a few more plates than I was imagining. You know, just said the whole turret was fine enough with them. Potentially got damage onto that tier 2 top. We have not been able to see it, but you know, was pushed up straight up to it since they knew everyone else was at the dragon. Very good push from Alawi. Now looking to potentially go into the Lord Dominic's, or another item that might be built from that item that I can't think of right now.
I think that this is just some kind of team fighting build for Sana, honestly. I don't think that we're actually seeing as much split push as I was expecting, given the fact that we have the Last Whisper already built and completed. I don't know, maybe they're just going to kind of sit on this and not go Lord Doms, but regardless, they are certainly trying to focus Wolfie.
Yeah, can't say I've ever seen Alawi build crit before, but you know, I'm here for it. Potentially being turned into Cerelia's Grudge. Or a Mortal Reminder. I doubt it's the Mortal Reminder, but I'd say probably heading more towards the Cerelia's Grudge, considering that doesn't go into any crit chance at all. I thought Last Whisper had crit chance on it, but that is actually my bad. So that is 100% a Grudge coming out.
Okay. Kind of interesting that we aren't really seeing one of either Crossfire or a Hullbreaker being completed as second item, though, on Sana, which I think both create this immense power spike that have to be answered either during team fights or split pushing, respectively. Regardless, this itemization, once again, is showing the creativity of Can We End, and maybe it's going to pay off, as the 2 people who are most likely going to be threatening Sana are relatively tanky champions that have to get into melee range. It's Wolfie and Empress here, who may actually be trying to find a gank path into the Alawi topside.
So we see Jinx has picked up the static Shiv. I'm not quite sure how I feel about that over picking up Stormrazor. However, I can't say I've, you know, like looked at any of the math on static. I've only heard people say it's bad, but I can't say I've looked at anything definitive to know if it's bad or not.
I've heard it's bad, and therefore I usually just kind of blindly parrot that information as a play-by-play caster. So, Kayla, I'm kind of worried that you haven't done the research for me. Sad that that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say. Everyone talking about it being bad. Oh.
This is quite the fight that Can We End is looking to take. Delicate is somehow hanging on in what basically became an isolated 1v1 as Liliana got chased down, but Piyush manages to get to safety, and now SK Avarosa have the man advantage trying to push into this one. Here comes the Glacial Fisher from Kasana to buy space for the team, but now that's just Zeri getting straight up hooked, and Piyush still walks it out, and that is gold flowing over to Nenris, who begins to reset and tear through the enemy team. It is a 4-0 in favor of SK Avarosa.
Yeah, absolutely great. However, gold lead still in favor of Can We End after that, surprising enough. But, you know, very well played overall, giving those extra kills to Jinx and Jarvan. Now getting this whole turret should even out the gold a bit, and yeah, I mean, Jinx is up about 1.4k gold on Cesare now.
And unfortunately, Cosmic CZM will not come in time for Jinx to get online. And when we talked about the scaling comparative between Xayah Zeri last game, we were saying, hey, Xayah, as long as they have a gold lead, is still going to be doing a ton of damage, and Zeri will not be able to answer back until like the 40-minute mark. Jinx, it's even more the case that you have a true hyper carry on both sides, and SK Avarosa has done a much better job getting theirs unlocked now.
Yes, okay, so just for clarification, yes, so Static Shiv on Jinx, DPS-wise, is inefficient. So there is your stats.
What a read on the stats. And that's Cyrilda's Grudge being built by Sana, so good read on that front as well here, Cam. You're just hitting all the marks right now.
Yes, indeed. Zeri obviously going the Triforce, building that recurve bow into the Runins first, obviously. As I've stated, I prefer the Titanic first, but I understand the wants, as this is just a tower dive.
We get a little bit of a freeze, I believe. I can't tell what that is from, although it will eventually just come right back in on Sana, trying to press R into 4 members, and they are actually whittling a ton of members low. Unfortunately, that is just distributed damage, and with the tower falling, SK Avarosa will be able to distract all their members.
Yeah, I mean, it's with a bit of hindsight, but an Orianna TP into Shock Blast there, that would have been a quadra kill for Alawi. That was some crazy damage coming out there. Jinx Rocket trying, but just a little too early, as Cloud Dragon will be picked up for Can We End, who now find themselves in a gold deficit for what feels like the first time this game.
It's not the most backbreaking gold deficit in the world, given the fact that Nenris just tore through Can We End. I'm kind of surprised things are as close as they are. The problem is gold concentration from SK Avarosa is making this kind of a more impactful gold lead than you would expect, but at least Red Squad is hanging, and there's still a chance that they could come back into this game. We're seeing that replay from earlier on where Nenris just kind of melted everybody's health bars. Delicate couldn't even get away as they flash to safety, but Empress just follows right on up. And now we return to a rift where the kill count is 9-3, but it's only 300 gold between these two teams.
Oh, and Jinx opts into IE second, which, looking at my stats here as well, is very bad DPS-wise compared to other first and second item combos. She's going to be missing out on a lot of damage overall with the build that she's currently opted into, which is a little bit of reprieve for Cosmic, knowing that, you know, the gold gained onto this Jinx, you know, like isn't the most efficient as it could be. Allows you a little bit of that reprieve. You're down 1.7k, sure, they're still ahead, but your scaling as Zeri is obviously there with the Jinx nerfs coming out. You gain just that little bit of a nice relaxation, knowing that things could be worse.
I mean, that's certainly true, but let's be real here. I think I'd much rather have a 2-item Jinx, even if they built absolutely garbo, versus a 1-item Zeri who's just struggling to keep on pace in regards to CS and gold income in general.
Yeah. We see the Rift Herald being dropped onto the top tier 2. That will, I believe that is enough damage to take out the turret.
Yeah, it's going to be able to knock this down.
Will pick up the kill onto it after, and, you know, things are kind of even, surprisingly. You look at 9-3, but they're only up just a little bit of gold from it.
This is going to be a commit and down onto Nenris, who just throws with the Flame Chompers. Lil Yane, unfortunately, not able to teleport in time. They're just going to hold this wave. Maybe this is Can We End trying to rally around this Baron Nashor. But this early on, without the gold income from a massive fight going in their favor, I don't really think that this is going to be a fast takedown, particularly as SK Avarosa has not had a single champion picked away from them just yet. Delicate is being chased down by Empress. They had to flash out of the Cataclysm. Now they have to burn their own ultimate as well to knock back the Jarvan. But this is a relentless charge by Blue Squad towards this tier 1 tower. And Apollonia eventually will get the stun necessary to knock out the jungler from CWE.
Yeah, I mean, just SK are playing the map so well. They're starting up Baron now that the jungler's dead. I mean, Alawi's bot, she's TPing for it now, but we might see a full-on fight.
All right, Sana gonna have to commit with this flash. Able to hit their Tesla Spear, but they're already being whittled so low. the chance to press their R. Kasana's in a lot of trouble. They're isolated from Liliane, who's now the target of 3 separate Can We End members, and Cosmic is split with nowhere to go. Kasana will be able to walk it out. They will be able to outkite the Tibbers, and Zeri is also moving to safety, but the fact of the matter is that the Alawi dead. Can We End is going to struggle to get back towards this pit as SK Avarosa are still on the Baron plan.
Yeah, I mean, very well. Oh, the Zeri ult, though.
Okay, gonna be able to flash in, and maybe this is the turnaround that Can We End was looking for. Unfortunately, Empress is just untouched for the time being. Let's see if Delicate's presence in this fight is going to be enough to turn things around. Right now, it is a 4-for-4. Sana's only coming back up at this point, but they will not be able to relocate to this topside river, so it really is just the duel between the two Demacian junglers, and Empress comes out on top with one more knockup off of the flag and drag.
And off of that, once again, I mean, the fight is won, but Can We End are still, I mean, the gold is even, but the gold is still even. This game is so close, yet it looks so scrappy. Very well played from these teams so far. The next dragon up in a minute. This could be sole point for Can We End, or SK could find themselves getting a little bit of extra movement speed. This Jarvan is huge, though.
It's so weird to look at the kill scores and try to think about the fact that CWE actually has a small advantage over SK Avarosa when it comes to their bank account. Where is it located? I imagine it's just from all the towers being taken down, and Sana got a lot of them, but it also kind of felt like the Alawi did nothing in that last fight, albeit they were going into like a 1v4 scenario. Now, this is once again SK Avarosa pathing back towards the Baron to try to bait another fight. Both of these teams are kind of being run ragged, though, in regards to their cooldowns. More ultimates are available for SK at this point in time, but as long as Cosmic has the ability to just lightning crash into multiple people, you have to respect the presence of CWE.
Yeah, and I mean, we see Alawi just absolutely destroy that bot tier 2 turret. Things are getting rough out here for Wolfie. Like, they're down about 67 CS. They're down so many turrets on Alawi. Like, Alawi might not have gotten kills, but they're up so much gold on this Ornn that it's becoming really hard to play around. Like, they got lucky with Alawi using like the bad TP there, but Baron's just being taken.
I don't think that this is going to go one way or the other. We're experiencing some technical difficulties. Here's the reset back onto the Rift as we watch the replay. Cosmic flashing in, going for the engage. Ornn being taken low. Wolfie's holding on for quite a while. Will eventually get burned down. And yeah, this is where it just suddenly becomes a 1v1. And Delicate had a huge health advantage. And so you talked, Cam, about how big Empress is. This is actually showing how incredibly confident they were taking that fight from down on health.
Yeah, and
all right, and we return back to another fight. Glacial Fissure is helping to zone away SK Avarosa, hungry to get on top of Cosmic as the depth charge is dropped, and now Pioch is dead. This could just be a disaster. However, Empress is looking to stabilize for the team with the Cataclysm in. Oriana's gotten a double kill, but with Cosmic falling in this one, it is going to be a fraught fight for both sides as Wolfie is the last one left alive for SK. Liliane is able to kite this one out. Delicate gets the ace this time, but there's just still not enough damage from Can We End to take the Baron, and so for the third time running off of a huge clash between these two teams, SK Avarosa can wipe their brows and say, hey, we got ace, but at least we aren't giving up the big purple worm.
Yeah, and I mean, as we're seeing, I mean, bot lane, Zeri is kind of out of it, and I mean, kind of with Alawi as well, but this mid-jungle duo are doing so much for this game state. The amount of AD and AP damage coming out really hurts the Ornn, and Ornn not really having built for either side just went the Warmogs right off the bat, which we haven't really seen Warmogs been able to provide him that much value so far.
And now Can We End is at sole point. They have finally broken away from about even gold to SK Avarosa, and that lead is not only translated through the mid-jungle duo like you're talking about, but also Sana is just so far ahead of Wolfie at this point. 10k gold in the pockets of this Alawi, making them an immensely difficult force for SK Avarosa to deal with on the map. The split pushing has been immaculate. They also have the ability to team fight. Look at this flank in the replay onto Empress and Apollonia, really keeping everybody locked up. Yeah, they died to Nenris, but they've already done all they needed to for Can We End to restabilize.
Yeah, it was just a well-played fight. I mean, both sides gained advantages during it, but I mean, Can We End just found the better ones. putting the game in a very interesting spot. I mean, you'll take or Cambian will take a potential Cloud Soul coming up here, especially on a champion like Alawi. That's, you know, so low mobility, countered by mobility so much. Getting all these Cloud Dragons really help, especially with Cerelia's Grudge with the slow. It'll make Can We End chase down just super strong.
And Sana at 1-4-1 is still immensely difficult for Blue Squad to deal with. SK Avarosa not only has to send the Ornn over as coverage, but probably another champion if they actually want to get a kill. And that means, given that we're still trying to find a team first Baron, we're in a situation where SK Avarosa has to be very prudent about how they use their teleports to be able to relocate across the map, because they don't want to lose either the big purple worm or their base right now.
Yeah, I mean, it makes just complete sense. Alawi still just pressuring on this bot side, though. Ornn's unable to find anything. It's rough to go for a Baron call here because Ornn won't be able to join. I mean, if Ornn decides to join first, Alawi just takes the base, so Ornn's kind of up to the mercy of Alawi of what will be happening here.
No dragon for any cross-map pressure either means that SK Avarosa just have to deal with a terrible twosome of a split push and a Baron take. So Can We End happy to kind of sit back and wait for SK to make a mistake. And given the fact that SK looked so good in the tournament up until this point, that's kind of surprising to see.
Yeah, it makes, yeah, I mean, they're so far in. I mean, this is the fight for third or fourth, and they SK find themselves down 4K, about, sorry, 3K gold, and it's just looking a little rough. It's hard to find fight angles. Your tank that you want in all these fights is too busy answering this crazy split push damage from this Alawi, who has now picked up the Frostfire Gauntlet and will now freely run around, continuing to take these turrets like they're just paper.
I'm loving how chess-like this game has become. SK Avarosa is pretty competently fending off Can We End from getting either of their desired targets, which is that tier 3 tower in the bot side or the Baron Nashor. And actually now they're finding the confidence to group after we see a reset from the Braum. And they're pushing into enemy territory now for the first time, getting some push advantage through the mid lane. They are down a tier 2 tower there, so it's been a little bit more difficult for them to hold the wave. But they're delaying the state of the game to the point where they can make a decisive decision or fight around either the Baron or the Dragon when it spawns up, because Can We End will then be pulled into two different directions.
Yeah, and I mean, poor Wolfie has just been stuck on Alawi duty, just constantly. I mean, he soaked this pressure very well. I mean, but Alawi may be looking for this Demolish proc. We'll just back up since they're taking turret. Jinx is just leaving, going down mid lane. The whole team is just leaving because the Baron's is happening.
See ya, Ornn. Hope you have fun in the 1v1. They do have to rally over to this Baron Nashor because Can We End is finally an angle with which they could start trying to take it down. I think that Orianna can't just work as point man, though. They probably need to do some amount of damage to the big purple worm, because now Kasana is all sorts of caught up. They just have to flash over the wall. Delicate will be able to back off from Tribush, but yet again, Can We End unable to get the damage necessary to burst this neutral objective in time before SK Avarosa relocates, although Wolfie's in a lot of trouble. Sana luckily doesn't have the wave, but look at the tentacle forest that they have assembled around the tier 3 tower.
I was just about to say, Ornn obviously not a good champion for taking those down without putting himself in a bad position. However, doesn't matter, Baron's being bursted.
How many times have we seen Baron contested in this game? This has to be the sixth play around this, and I think it might finally go down in favor of SK Avarosa. Sana is looking for some kind of movement towards the enemy team, and it's de-aggroed. Can We End is buying more space for the Allowed to come in after finally catching out more items. They're on Frostfire now.
They are. All these items coming out, and I mean, Ornn's still working on his second item. He's a bit far behind. I mean, he did spec into the Bramble Vest, so he's more at like 1.5 or like 1 and 7.
1 3/4 items.
Yes, that is the word I was looking for. And yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, a little bit behind, especially with starting the Warmogs, but potentially Can We End looking to sneak up this dragon while SK are busy gaining advantages for this Baron.
And I think that Can We End are just going to get a free soul off of this one. You can almost look at this as a conscious decision by SK Avarosa, thinking, hey, the Cloud Drake doesn't matter all that much. We're just looking to accelerate ourselves towards a map state where we have Baron and Elder is going to be played for. Can We End are going to try to rally and reclaps, though, as this Baron's just not going down fast enough. Unfortunately, Wolfie has to just headbutt away. Sana is able to use another test of Spirit to whittle the health bar of the main tank of SK Avarosa down yet again. And another yoink there is going to also force Emprez off of the pit. Now, the question is, can We End now move over to get the big purple worm?
Yeah, we will have to see. Can We End? They're bursting it down. A Jinx rocket, very possible to come out. It needs to come out pretty soon, but it's being blocked by Can We End. The Jinx rocket will not even be expended. And that is free Baron over to Can We End with a 5k gold lead and soul. This game is looking bad.
And this is so confusing for me because SK Avarosa are not damningly behind Can We End. Look at the upgraded ornaments down. Infinity Edge has been upgraded for the Jinx. Annie has tons of burst pressure with that upgraded Leandries. And Ornn can tank a little bit more with their upgraded Jack shows. They should have just tried to fight around the dragon or something like that rather than believing falsely that they would have the damage to rush the Baron Nashor. And Can We End just kind of gets everything because of that. They're able to go for a really good reclaps, and SK Avarosa bungle their own engages in that situation. Now Sana, with these empowered minions, is going to be a force to be reckoned with. They have the Hull Breaker completed. Nobody can stop this top laner.
Alawi is up 5,000 gold on this Ornn. He's up 100 CS. He's down in terms of like kill and assist gold, but it doesn't matter. The advantages he's been able to create for himself are absolutely great. Ornn finally gets the Jack show, but now a fight has spelled out in mid lane.
Yep, it's a fight mid and bot. Alawi is trying to chase the Ornn back. Cosmic is doing all that they can to push through the damage for Can We End in the mid lane, but the Jinx has already gotten excited with the reset. Apoloria is going low enough to where they have to back off. Nenris as well doesn't have the health to play with, but that is only a 2-for-1 overall. Can We End managed to solo bolo the Ornn in the bot side of the map, but Sana, she has to probably back off from this one, and while that is a multiple set of towers going down for Can We End, the fact of the matter is 2 Baron buffs have been taken off the map in the course of that fight.
Yeah, and I mean, a whole inhib was taken, 2 turrets were taken, potential mid inhib now. Alawi's just taking the Nexus turret. Like, they're splitting up SK so much. Like, Alawi goes up, she might die for this, but they just got mid inhib off of it.
Sana has ultimate available and will rain down Hellfire with those tentacles. However, Pioche and Apollonia are just able to kind of face tank everything, and Sana will not be able to get to safety. In fact, Liliane walking up is going to make that even more favorable for SK as they give another kill over to Nenris.
Yeah, I mean, you'll obviously take what you can get, but also at the same time, it's not like they gained more from that than Can We End. I mean, they lost 2 turrets, 2 inhibs. You'll take a 3-for-1 for that any day, or 1-for-3.
And this is such a fraught late game. There have not been many towers accessed by SK Avarosa on Can We End's side, and so it isn't like one ace and they all of a sudden are able to run it down mid. However, we are in a position where Nenris is disgustingly fed. We keep talking about the gold gap on Sana, but the real person you have to watch out for is now the Jinx, who is the richest player overall. Look at this replay here. See how nobody's able to really access this champion, and the little bit of burst that Delicate brings to the table has been fully answered back by the ability for Pioche to go for the reclaps onto the Xin Zhao, and that's just a free double kill. And then we saw even more for the Jinx after that fact because of Orianna trying to save Sana in the bot lane play.
Yeah, I mean, Zeri has now finished up the Titanic Hydra, but Jinx just finished their 4th item, Bloodthirster, which makes complete sense. They're having so much issue getting to this Jinx and getting her below half that the value from it is insane.
Empress is trying to get onto Kasana, but Cosmic is here to back up the extraction of the Braum. Here's the Cataclysm, but it's just an immediate W over. Now the question is, can the Flag and Drag do enough to get Nenris into the area? Here's the Call of the Forge God as well. Kasana might be in a little bit of trouble because of it. They don't have their E up, and here's a massive dredge line into a hook. Kasana just will finally die, and now Nenris is truly excited. However, Zeri off the Lightning Crash is able to restore hope to Can We End, who wipes out the Jinx in an instant, and now only Wolfie is left alive. alive. Tibbers is trying to get on top of Cosmic, but they will fail to do so. And look what's happening in the meantime. Sana has led a rush down onto the base. Both Nexus turrets are gone, alongside SK Avarosa's hopes of going into third place. Can we end? We'll come out on top at the 34-minute mark.
It didn't matter. SK could have gone a quadra kill on Jinx, but it didn't matter. Alawi was in the base. Sana pushing in with multiple super minions. Hullbreaker just absolutely destroyed the turrets. Very well played. Can we end now? Locking in that third place.
SK Avarosa, unfortunately, just felt behind in terms of their tempo and their macro calls since the Baron Nashor spawned. They were pushed and pulled all across the map. The split push from the Alawi was actually kind of what made that champion the MVP of this game, as crazy as it is to say for a composition centered around a Zeri. Fact of the matter is, SK made some odd decisions, especially giving up the soul to red team, and therefore Can We End deservedly are going to take the victory here. And now we are poised to look for our final few matches of the day with a best of 3 for grand finals. Big Chroma versus G2 Cam. I don't know who you have as favorites, but we got to get ahead on that narrative very soon here. But first, a quick break so we can get ourselves all the information about our upcoming matchup. Super happy to be here to continue to cover the Equal Cup, and we'll be back soon.
Yes.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to what is about to be grand finals here in
Yes.
the Equal Esports Cup. I'm so happy to be along for the ride on this one. We got Big Chroma facing off against G2 of all teams, and what a crazy run has been for both of these squads.
Oh yeah, I mean G2 obviously tournament favorites, expected wins in every single one of their games so far, but Big Chroma kind of getting two upsets to make it here. I mean, they looked really strong in group stage, but I mean, obviously questions about would they beat Vitality, would they beat SK, but they just do. They run on through, and here they are in the grand finals looking to challenge the tournament favorites in G2 Hell.
And I think that they have a shot. G2 have looked nigh unstoppable so far, but I believe that neither of these squads have clashed against one another just yet. And so Big Chroma is still kind of an unknown quantity coming into grand finals.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they've showed their strengths in their game so far, but we will have to see if they can play around the power that we've seen G2 Hell bring to these games. I mean, last we saw, Sheena was doing very good on the Nocturne for G2 Hell. The paranoias threatening so much that potentially even warrants a ban from Big Chroma, but we'll have to see how that all looks getting into draft.
As a whole, G2 just looked nigh unstoppable in that last match that we documented with them as they moved on to grand finals. In particular, I think for me, yeah, Sheena was a standout, but Lizia was kind of a great stabilizing factor in the top side of the map. They baited in a tower dive 2v1. They bought enough time for Sheena to move up there and use their paranoia, and that basically was the game winner right then and there. A 2-for-0 off of a play that was initiated by their enemies.
Yeah, it was very, very well played overall from Sheena. Uh, just trying to bait out that tower dive, and it worked oh so perfectly. And then Nocturne just became a force to be reckoned with. And then with Nocturne so strong, their front to back on the enemy team was just over. You no longer can front to back when your backline can be jumped on at any moment. So hopefully we can see some more comps like that, picks like Nocturne, just, the very nice comfort that they're so strong with and, shakes up the game.
For sure. Big Chroma, on the other hand, is not only an unknown quantity because we have yet to been able to document one of their games on stream today, Cam, but also they're unknown because we don't even have a wiki page about them. They truly are the dark horses of this tournament, moving in
Yes.
versus a team as storied as G2 with such a franchise behind them.
Yeah, we'll have to see what they can bring. I'd love to see if they can show up, maybe take an early game one and force G2 Hell tournament favorites to, fear them. Show off to the world that they can be a strong team contending in these tournaments and potentially make a big name for themselves.
I think we got to do the classic analyst desk segment now, Cam. What are your predictions for this grand finals? It is a best of three, not the classic best of five, but still, there are a few possible records that we can see between these two. Who's taking it and in what manner?
I'd love to go to game three, obviously, but I think this will all depend on how this game one goes. If obviously Big Chroma take game one, I think we're going to a game three. But if G2 Hell take game one, it'll all come down to if Big Chroma were they competitive in the game, could they show signs of life that they could win a game two? Because an early game one win could spell disaster if you pick up the second game, if it's even remotely close. I mean, you still have such a big advantage there that, I mean, obviously I'm favoring G2 Hell here, but I feel like that's to be expected and that's what everyone's doing. So maybe Big Chroma gets stronger the more you doubt him.
I think that for me, in order to keep the sanity of our intrepid producer about themselves, it's probably best if we get a 2-0 one way or the other. I'm going to go crazy here. I think that Big Chroma has what it takes to just kind of submarine themselves to victory. If they beat G2 in game one, I don't think it's actually going to go 3 games. I think that they crush the Spears to G2 Hell on red side.
Yeah, and I mean, we've hopped right into draft Big Chroma, taking away the Nico, and G2 Hell, taking away the Cassante. Just absolutely standard bans, knocking out the meta as much as you can. Big Chroma throwing in a Gnar.
I'm liking the Gnar ban as well. Lizia is clearly a force to be reckoned with, and so Big Chroma have done their scouting. They know they have to target down this player. And a good way to do that is by taking away one of these champions with tons of flexibility and blind potential. I think that G2 now have to go for a very standard reserve that final counter pick slot for Lizia. And even then, they're going to be knocked off of some of their power picks because we still
Yeah.
have 2 more bans to go in the second phase. Now, we are seeing the Maokai and Poppy knocked out by G2, but that means Zarya is open and Big Chroma is just going to windmill slam it as the B1 pick.
Yeah, we'll have to see if G2 Hell perhaps go for like the Ezreal Yumi or something, or if they risk leaving this Yumi open. The Zeri Yumi, obviously such a strong combo, as they're hovering the Callista, potentially looking threatening. Yeah, go Yumi. We'll just win the lane.
And who knows, Big Chroma might not go Yumi because we've already seen Zarya Yumi open a few times and it's just not been picked. They usually go for some other kind of enchanter.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. They're showing the Pantheon, which I believe is a flex pick for these teams at the moment. They've been showing Pantheon for top lane and support, but they're just gonna go inside of Milio.
I do love Milio, but I kind of wish that we would see a Taric to counter the Nautilus engage here. I think that would be really good to see with the Zeri. But at the end of the day, Milio is certainly a very competent champion for this kind of role. And if you can hit your Ultra Mega Fire Kicks, you can actually deny a lot of what Columbia LBL wants to do on this Nautilus pick.
Yeah, and I'm not too sure how I'd feel about Tark. It is good against the Nautilus, but the Tark ult kind of just gets completely countered by Callista. She still stacks up those spears into you, will still get all that damage even though you're invulnerable. Is obviously a big risk with that. But yeah, Milio shows up. The Ahri now shows up as well. Just looking for, that safe mid lane pick that will put G2 Hell onto the control mage with Orianna, and we've got ourselves a draft.
Another Orianna seems to be one of the champions that you favor. I think it's always just a stable set value for a team. Shockwaves can do everything during a team fight to secure victories for G2. And even if they are kind of lagging during the laning phases, I believe Tifa never really accessed early kills when we saw them before in the mid lane. It doesn't really matter, right? Because he would be able to facilitate whoever does in fact access gold from G2 early. I think it's probably going to be Katie's this time as they are going for that Callista. And while it is a gamble, the confidence to grab this in grand finals shows that they must have plenty of experience on this champion.
Yeah, and I mean, showing the AP mid, we should be seeing either a facilitator jungler or just an AD carry jungler coming out. So obviously Big Chroma expecting more of the facilitator, banning out the Vi, while G2 Hell banning out the Renekton, knowing that they want to play for that top side. We'll ban the Renekton and the Gwen, potentially something cooking up for Lizia.
And I was talking about how Lizia was a solid rock for G2 to stabilize off of in that last game that we witnessed, but perhaps they are literally taking the rock part of the name to its logical conclusion, which is buy or build a tank here. Perhaps they can even blind it and then go for a raw counter pick into the jungle role. We're getting some weird hovers once again from G2. They've done the Alistar thing before. I don't think this is going to be a lane Nautilus, but they are certainly making me second guess myself. Okay, there's the Ornn.
I was gonna say, I mean, we saw Jungle Nautilus at MSI. Potentially, they were looking to opt into it, especially with the Vi taken away. Very good facilitator, but no, they just blind the Ornn, and Big Chroma looking to just blind the Scion, or not, sorry, not blind, but revert back with the Scion. A whole load of nothing's gonna be happening in top lane if they do so.
It's interesting that we're seeing Chroma go over to a Scion as a counter to the Ornn, but with the Gwen denied, there's not a whole lot you could do in terms of like tank shredder carries up there that fulfills the role that Big Chroma wants out of Crow, and so this is perfectly justifiable. And now we're seeing how they want to play up against this Orianna in the mid lane, it looks like. Actually, no, the Ahri's already been picked. What am I talking about? They're just baiting me with the LeBlanc, a true trickster in a way on that front, and they're going to get the Kha'Zix at the end of this.
Oh. I'm interested to see, because I was wondering why they'd be saving jungle for counter pick and blind the Ornn, but I don't think this will be Yumi coming out, but they might pick a support, and this could have been Jungle Nautilus the whole time. We'll have to see what they go for. The Yumi potentially just messing around as they go. Oh, they go for the Rek'Sai.
Yeah, there was no way that we were going to see G2 give up on counterpick just to meme us, I think. And so, therefore, the Nautilus in Callista bot makes the most sense to try to shut down the Zeri Milio early. And Rek'Sai has been unleashed, apparently, regarding how people talk about this champion's balance as of late. So, I'm excited to see which of the two bugs are going to be able to make the biggest splash early, as both of them are kind of reliant upon getting kills to scale.
Yeah, I mean, Rek'Sai has been doing very well so far with how this new patch has gone for them. Their pick rate has spiked up, their win rate has spiked up, their ban rate has spiked up. Everything about them, they've become such a high priority champion around this place, and we'll have to see which of our void junglers will be able to provide this like enough value to their team. I'm starting to notice a theme of these junglers really liking to match their regions.
Yeah, for sure. And coming in at the end for game number one, I think that we're seeing some amount of like cute flexibility, but it's not necessarily showing that one team is trying to for fun this. There's still plenty of win conditions to play off of. I really want to keep my eyes on Sheena, though. I said that the last time that they were on the Rift with that Nocturne, and I'm going to say it again on the Rex side because the burden is on them to facilitate some kind of big play, probably in the bot lane. There's even the potential for a dive to come out, given the fact that I think Xavi and Lumi are going to have to give up some amount of priority to something as ferocious as a Callista is.
Yeah, and I mean, you saved your final R5 pick. You saved the counter pick for this Rek'Sai. You really want it to be like you want it doing stuff. If you save the R5 and Rek'Sai ends up just not doing much, it starts to feel a little bad. But if this Rek'Sai, gets ahead, starts setting up kills either on the Ahri or on the Zeri Milio, probably never on the Scion, but we'll have to see. Then we could be looking at just, a really good and strong early game from G2 Hell, which translates into an amazing late game with Orianna Ornn.
Certainly the case. I think that Ornn has kind of underperformed in this tournament so far. They were massively struggling up against the Alawi, but I don't think that Crow is going to be able to do quite as much for Big Chroma as the Alawi did in our consolation bracket match for the side of CWE. So entering on into this game in just a few seconds, Cam, I got to ask, what do you think is going to happen? Who are you betting is going to get first blood?
I'm expecting G2 Hell to get first blood, or at least they will start the first altercation, which then either way will cause first blood for either side. Because I mean, you have Callista, Nautilus, and Rek'Sai. We can just totally expect to see Rek'Sai heading down bot, looking to pick up, a first blood or a double kill for this Callista.
You know what? Given the fact that I'm predicting Big Chroma 2-0 here, which is definitely accelerationist to a degree, I'm going to have to say that First Blood's going over to either Xavi or Lumi. And hear me out. I think that Columbia LBL and Cadis are going to get up to level 2 first, but they're going to overextend trying to go for a kill.
Okay, well, we'll have to see, I guess, as we head onto the Rift in about 30 seconds. I mean, as we're talking about all of this, seems top lane's being a bit left out, but I think also for very good reason, because Ornn versus Scion, a bit of a whole load of nothing going on up there, a bit of a wet noodle fight, as some would call it.
I guess the question is Crow going to do something funky early? We saw T1 at MSI go for the early tower dive versus, I think, Mad Lions. Where they can also just go steal a buff, execute to it. A lot of different options here for sure. Big probably want to keep the variability of the early game as low as possible, though I will say, especially up against a team with the pedigree that G2 currently has, who still remain the fast and hard favorites, especially when you look at Twitter coming into the grand finals of this tournament. So they really don't want to kind of look goofy here, have more haters come their way. Let's see if they are able to stabilize and actually have G2 fight till the bitter end.
Yeah, and I mean, also, they are going blue side Scion. All those funny Scion techs usually reserved for red side, so I don't believe they will be looking for much of anything. Potentially, just helping Kha'Zix out with the clear, but probably not looking for any crazy invade into bot dive, especially on blue side.
Man, I still don't know what that metal or, I guess, duct tape thing is at the very front of the analyst desk.
And we shall never know. Both ADCs opting into the Doran's Blade in this matchup. Zeri and Emilio going the barrier heal, while Callista and Nautilus go the heal ignite. Double TP opted for both teams, and other than that, actually, funny enough, completely matching inventories, except for Nautilus, who has minion dematerializer.
Boo! He ruined it by going Glacial Augment! Curses!
And
I don't...
we do see the Milio Guardian tech actually coming out here, since all they're looking for is, you know, keep the Zeri safe. It's fine if we end the laning phase 0-0. We will gain more value later.
I can't say that I haven't inadvertently gone at Guardian Milio after messing up my runes from a previous game. I think it's pretty surprisingly good. Same thing with Glacial Augment Milio. I've certainly jammed that before on accident. Neither are actually terrible as long as you're good at hitting your Qs and you're good at setting up during engages in such a way that you're able to kind of share damage with your AD carry, given that Cozy Campfire's AoE heal is probably best if both of you are slightly hurt during the fight rather than one person tanking everything.
Yeah, and I mean, we see Lysia getting bullied out a bit. Is now half health on this Ornn. Obviously has the Doran shield in the health pot, but creates definitely an advantage for sure for the Scion.
This is a very aggressive posture from G2 as they enter into the lane second. That's going to be the Ultra Mega Fire Kick thrown out by Lumi, but Xavi is taking a huge chunk of damage after getting hit by that Dredge line, and therefore G2 are going to have full priority over this first wave.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we definitely see advantages created on different sides of the map for different teams. As we kind of just sit back and, you know, wait for something to happen. Rek'Sai is already on the invade, potentially looking for a bot dive, as was talked about. He is warded, but potentially looking for a full-on dive.
Yeah, Trez is going for the opposite top, but it's a little bit harder to dive an Ornn, especially one that has kind of healed up after that initial onslaught from Crow. Wave is being pushed under the tower. Vixen knows that the Rek'Sai is here, so she is going to be able to zone away this champion for the time being. And honestly, with Zeri wall ride on the table, once we see this champion hit level 2 or level 3, it could be the case that this could end up as a disaster for G2, who still doesn't really have a read as to where exactly Vixen is, who I just realized is a very fitting name for playing Ahri.
Yeah, I mean, actually, Rek'Sai did know that someone was there. They didn't know exactly that it was Vixen, because Rek'Sai saw the footsteps, but potentially potentially thought it was the Kha'Zix over the wall as the footsteps were over, but Ahri was missing for a while. Allowed the push from Orianna, and, you know, a whole load of nothing happens. Very, very good roam from Vixen.
And we're in a position now where neither of these junglers is finding a whole lot after their invade. They're remaining relatively stable with one another in terms of CS, and I think we're probably going to go back to a regular clear path following this first reset from the Kha'Zix and the Rek'Sai. As the vertical jungle experiment was kind of handshake, but now because of how long it took for Sheena to set up bot, things have kind of reverted back to normal as Trez is starting their blue buff after already taking their wolves and Grom.
Yeah, just very well done overall. About a just a 200 gold lead, so pretty meaningless gold lead so far for the side of G2, and we'll just be looking forward to what happens. Dragon obviously up in less than a minute's time. We'll have to see which team decides to fight around it. It'll be quite interesting. I think G2 have the easier avenue if they keep getting this push and bot, but Scion potentially dead.
Trez is up here, though, as a contingency plan, and Crow's honestly holding their own. That's the flash actually burned by the Ornn, and there's a chance at a tower dive here. Trez is probably going to prowl around the area just a little bit longer, but Lysia knows that their time in the sun has passed them by. They have the teleport to get back to the lane anyway, and so G2 will be able to stabilize top.
I thought Ornn was dead. The minion auto is coming. There was a few minion, I think there was one minion auto coming her way, but the minion auto left her on 6 HP, barely letting Ornn walk out of this. And now TP back, haven't lost much.
Oh,
cancel the recall.
Yeah, Crow's in a lot of trouble now. Only 100 health. Has the flash still available? Lysia might not be able to follow, and Scion has probably bought enough space to make it back towards the tower. Lysia will just have to occupy herself with the wave in kind.
Yeah, I mean, you still take that wave advantage that you get. It kind of helps undo the wave advantage that Sion had for a moment there, and now it's back to equal. Uh, pretty
Equal
much,
Esports Cup, in fact.
yeah. It's about equal almost everywhere on the map, except for about 300 gold advantage for Sion. But other than that, Sion will pick up the coal. Just looking to chill back, farm up. Not much is gonna be happening, so.
And because we're in such a stable state between these two teams, with maybe a gold lead over to Big Chroma that could easily be reverted as soon as any kind of big play happens, I think that yet again, it's all in the courts of the two junglers. Can Trez or Sheena make the first move onto the map that will actually precipitate into a first blood claim? Because that could be enough, even if it is done topside, for one of these squads to get themselves a pretty belligerent play over to the Dragon. Maybe that baits another fight, and very suddenly this game could all really just fly off the handle, as it were. I also want to keep an eye on this Callista right now, who has done a good job asserting a CS lead versus Zavi, but besides that, actually really has not been able to do a whole lot in terms of go for deep trades or potential kills.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll see first Ocean Dragon being picked up by G2. Obviously, early Ocean Dragon isn't that amazing. I mean, you'll love it on the Ornn. It'll keep him in the lane a lot more as, Sion pressures down these platings.
Yep, Lysia is unfortunately going to start dropping off in terms of their ability to contest the 1v1 versus Crow, as we see the Scion take a few really good resets. The fact of the matter is they only recently bought the Cull, so it isn't like we're going to see an immense power spike super soon from Crow. But at the same time, G2 is in a position where they can no longer look to the Ornn to get killed by themselves. It's really going to be fully in the hands of Sheena, who on this Rex side could struggle to put in that last little bit of damage versus the Scion, particularly when that champion has ult available and they can just run away from fights.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. We see both ADCs opting into Berserker Greaves right away. I mean, such disgustingly strong boots, but... But I mean, at this point, I mean, the game is just balanced around them, kind of like Flash. So we see once again just barely a gold lead, but I mean, it kind of gets answered with G2's first dragon. Herald will be up in 8 seconds, as we will be potentially a fight over for it. But I don't know if Big Chroma are really interested in a fight around this Herald, but at the same time, giving up the second objective isn't exactly what you want to be doing.
Columbia BL is trying to approach upon Lumi and company. It's just knocked back by the Ultra Mega Fire kicking out with Trez there. They understand they have to make it out of dodge. They're going to just dredge line to safety. Zavi actually activates Lightning Crash and gets tons of damage down onto Caltus and the Nautilus, but it looks like the only thing they're going to be able to get from that is a push priority with Trez covering them. And while this is all happening, G2 understands where the Cosmics is, and therefore they will start up the Rift Herald for themselves.
Yeah, and like you love this trade. Like you get bullied out a little bit in bot lane, but you made up for it with the Rift Herald, and now you have both objectives this game. Next Dragon's gonna be up in 3 minutes, and like you could be looking at posturing for starting up soul stacking, as this Kha'Zix is a little caught out, but.
Flash over the wall. Columbia BL is going to be able to hit the hook as well. Trez less than half health with Ignite ticking on them. Zavi, though, is here to cover alongside Lumi. It looks like G2 just has to extract themselves. I was going to note that bot lane play didn't lead to Columbia BL or Caltus burning any of their summoner spells, but now Nautilus has kind of taken it upon themselves to burn them anyway, to try to kill Trez, who will be able to make it out alive without burning the flash of their own.
Yeah, I'd say it was a little bit preemptive. I mean, Kha'Zix is obviously not an easy champion to lock down for long. The only way you get that kill there is if you somehow like get the root or get the hook while he's mid-jump. But either way, she's very happy to walk out of that alive. As Rift Herald being crashed down bot, Ahri is here to cover, but
I don't think they're going to be able to stop the charge at the very least, and G2 weren't really in a position where they could take the tower regardless of who was there, so maybe this time around it was a little bit of a wasted roam, and Tifa is actually able to get a wave crash into the tower to punish Vixen for that walk down bot. It's not a huge gold lead between the Orianna versus the Ahri, but at the same time, Big Chroma this time around are getting quite as much from moving them on the bot side of the map.
yeah, and I mean, we see Individual gold advantage isn't crazy for anyone but the Scion, who is now currently up 1,000 gold just from CS, the coal, and plates, which, I mean, you love to see this. Getting Ornn knocked down a bit as Orianna spends the ult.
Yeah, and I don't think that people will be able to get anything cashed out because of the utilization of that shockwave. Luckily, we're also in a position where there's no neutral objectives to contest, so you might as well just start yeeting out your abilities as a means by which to try to grab a kill one way or the other, because we're 11 minutes into this game and we still haven't seen a single first blood taken, gosh darn it.
Yeah, what a way to start game one. As
maybe this is finally going to change. Lumi's in a heck of a lot of trouble. They also have the depth charge dropped onto them. They're going to use everything to try to get to safety. They flash, they heal, but they will die. And Kaltis is able to extract kill on BLBL in time to ensure that they will not fall to Vixen, who dedicates the teleport to get over here to defend Big Chroma's bot lane. Xavi will have to be left alone once again, but G2 will finally open this game up, and now they're striding out to about a 700 gold lead. It could turn into more, especially as Ahri is occupied with mid once again. Xavi could potentially be dozed.
Yeah, it seems like they're gonna call it off after the wave comes back, but yeah, that's exactly who you want your first blood on, as Kha'Zix having to back off took a little bit of damage there. Having to run off. The dragon is now up. This could potentially be the second dragon off of Kha'Zix taking that turret shot.
And Sheena is just going to be able to take this away without much in the way of contestation. Big Chroma is still dedicated to going for a cross map, but I do want to note, Lizzie has soloed down Crow under the tower, who honestly could have consciously gone for that, trying to get as many plates and wave off the back end of their passive. But why give gold over to the Ornn, man?
I thought this was a women's tournament. What's Boss doing here?
Yeah, Bouse FFs, unfortunately, is having their spirit channeled here in grand finals of the Equal Esports Cup. Don't know how I feel about that, given the fact that he got banned off of multiple accounts for this exact kind of play. That being said, 12 minutes in, if Boss was only at 1 death, that is conservative from that player. So overall, Big Chroma probably utilizing Scion a little bit more smartly than what we see from our actual favorite Swedish streamer.
Yeah, we'll see what happened up here. Scion just kind of waiting out. Yeah, it seemed like a conscious death for the Demolish Brock.
And I don't know how I feel about that. Lysia probably was going to have a lot of value in this game, given that it's gone so late without them giving up deaths, and they were remaining relatively even with Crow in terms of CS anyway. Now, they have actually taken the strides to make it over to their first item as well, to match up against the Heartsteel from Crow. We're still waiting on the Cull cash out to get the Scion back into the lead, but overall, we're looking at two champions that have very different goals as tanks. And right now, I think Lizzie is just kind of better along on the pathway to doing what the Ornn wants to do.
Yeah, just Crow looking for even more plates, dodges the Ornn knockup this time, so will not give their life for it, as now they're proxying, and Kha'Zix is down bot, or...
Rek'Sai is also down bot. You're right on both counts here, Sure. One is more relevant than the other, is what you could say.
Yeah, and I mean, Crow has ult, so I mean, this turret is just very much gone for G2, and I mean, Big Chroma, you'd love to see this, gets the Heartsteel stack, and it's kind of just happy. Well, up 1k gold still on this Ornn. The Scion is definitely, at the moment, much stronger until this Ornn gets ornaments to give out.
Yeah, but I think that G2 are perfectly happy, given that they have a gold cushion elsewhere on the map. The one thing to note is that Sheena has kind of not done a whole lot in this game. They have managed to set up for 1 kill, but Rek'Sai is going to fall off harder than the Kha'Zix here in the mid-game, so I really want to see them facilitate something else. And it could be a dive bot, as we are seeing a dying tier 1 tower besieged by Kaltis and company. And the Callista will just have to kite back as we see the wave cleared out.
Yeah, I mean, Crow, oh, the turret's almost dead. He sees the Heartsteel stack, just standing there like, should I?
It's that SpongeBob meme where he's all behind you and he's like, I need it!
indeed. As we see, Crow should probably be looking for that soon, but already potentially got out.
Yeah, Vixen completely knocked up. Great utilization of that Stride Breaker as well for the first kill to go over to G2 during this duel. And even the Rek'Sai is able to stabilize enough to keep Tifa alive. So Trez is also going to fall in this one because Columbiel BL has already, as we have established before, never missed a hook.
And suddenly our questions of Sheena's usefulness as this game continues suddenly dissipates as 600 gold just gets added to her inventory. Will help her out very much as now Callista gets the bot turret, Crow gets the top turret, and you know, things are happening all over the map for both sides. The Scion ult.
Good flash there from Lysia. I'm kind of surprised that Crow decided to commit that so early into the play. You probably needed to wait for some of the mobility of the Ornn to be exhausted as we now see a replay of this bot lane. Do you call this a gank once in enemy territory? I think that it was just kind of a very aggressive invade that went totally in favor of Sheena and Tifa.
Yeah, just a casual meeting between enemies.
Casual? 2 people ended up dead. I don't know what kind of meetings you go to, man, but you probably need to be reported.
Well, I've made it out alive, so things are going good. A 2k gold lead for the side of G2. They picked up, obviously, the second dragon, and now the third one spawning in a minute's time. Big Chroma cannot let G2 keep getting this extra AD AP because Rek'Sai, Callista with the extra AD, they feel so hard to play into, but G2 are looking to pick up the 4th objective this game.
And this is going to be another pretty much uncontested Rift Herald over to G2, and there's plenty of towers to still drop this upon. And now that the Rek'Sai is unleashed, I could easily see them just force a play, and I don't think that Big Chrome is at a point where any of their champions are stable enough to be able to answer back in a way that makes this totally in favor of Blue Squad. So G2 can play a little bit more gamble-oriented for the next few minutes and be happy to do so.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you absolutely love how this is coming out. 30 seconds until G2 can try and posture for this. Going on Soul Point will be absolutely amazing. We see an Ornn engage, but is it really an engage when you're doing no damage, but the rest of the team is here? But off goes Scion.
Good thing that they forced the ult, actually, because this means Big is going to have one less tool to try to contest this dragon. Tifa is splitting top with the teleport available as well. It just feels like G2 have a much better read on the macro calls as of this mid-game. And now with another Dread line landing, Vixen's in a lot of trouble. They activate the Everfrost, but here comes the Call of the Forge God in a teleport. It's just going to be there for insurance. G2 doesn't even need Tifa. They have already killed the mid lane of Big Chroma and sent everybody packing. Trez so low. Kaltis is giving chase now. Zavi is trying to zone away the Callista as much as possible. Here comes the ult activated. Callista is going to yeet the Nautilus into the crowd of Lumi and Zavi, but they will just get knocked back. It looks like that's going to be the end of the play, but it's totally in favor of Red Team.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you'll always take, you pick up, okay, so yeah, so there's a little bit of an issue with the overlay. This is not an Infernal Dragon, this is in fact a Hextech Dragon on a Hextech Soul map. So ignore what I was saying. The value is still insane for Callista, don't get me wrong, but very nice pickup with obviously portals around the map now. Good pickup there, as now they're on Soul Point. Baron's up in 2 minutes, and it's starting to look very hard for Big Chroma.
I probably should not have, I'm not even going to say it was a meme pick, but I probably should not have optimistically said that Big Chroma was 2-0ing this series. G2 looks so good and so comfortable with these kinds of dicey macro scenarios. Look at the movement up from Lysia, a beautiful cross-the-wall Call of the Forge God. Tifa's there as insurance, and I'm kind of surprised that Big Chroma didn't walk away with another few champions taken down.
Yeah, and I mean, as you're saying, G2 hell, I mean, they won Pathfinders. They're coming off of such a dominant win in the Women's League, and now they're here in this women's tournament looking like the favorite team, and are looking to take a quick game 1 off of this finals.
I like this contestation. Sheena knows that they're stronger than the Kazakhs right now. Smite fight is going to go in favor of G2, and Trez is just tased off once again.
Yeah. We'll have to see. Obviously, Baron up in a minute, Dragon up in 4. Ahri potentially caught out here as the bot lane move up.
Kaltis and Columbia BL are just trying to cover all of Vixen's escape pathways. You know that the Ari could be very slippery. Charm will land, but it's only onto the Callista. I actually think you needed to hit the support there to have a chance to get out of the way of Dredgeline, but that is just clean in the 2v1. G2 gets another on the map, and they hope Big Chroma still killless in this game. Crow is trying to change that alongside Trez as both of them jump onto Lysia. The Ornn is trying to stabilize. They have the Call to Forge God available, but they just don't have the space with which to activate it, and so therefore Trez will finally be able to cash out and get something done. However, while that's happening, look at the enemy jungler. The Rek'Sai is wrecking the side lanes off of the Shelly drop.
Yeah, another crash into the tier 3 turret. That's just going to get taken. It may be, honestly, another crash into the next...
Oh, no.
Inhib, and it will be Inhib picked up before the Baron spawn in 10 seconds.
Gina might struggle to get out of this one. They're going to be able to just hop over the wall, but Zavi is coming in on a flank. Their Ultra Shock Laser is not going to be able to slow down any of these champions, but Kaltis is already at about half health. They have to withdraw the Nautilus to them, and now they're looking for the Yeet. Columbia BL, though, is kind of now too far away from the Callista for it to matter. This could just be a huge overextension by G2. Big Chroma gets a CZM, and Zavi now is at 1-0-2, very much keeping this game alive.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't think they'll be able to Baron off of this. The Shockwave coming out on Emilio just to get the health bars lower. Baron definitely not an option anymore. And I mean, everyone will be up for this next dragon. So once again, very nice that they went the way of Big Chroma, but it's still 2k gold lead for G2. They still found themselves getting the inhib. Obviously, Sheena gets caught out a little bit here, tries to go, gets a good flash away, but then Zeri's just on the flank, starts chopping through everyone. Sheena hops away. Obviously, Columbia coming back in to try and knock everyone away, but Kha'Zix's just doing so much damage on this backline.
Now, the question is, are those kills worth it for G2, given the fact that they will have more pushing priority due to the fact that the top lane has lost its inhibitor on Big Chroma's side? I actually do not know, and therefore I'm going to throw the question over to you, Cam, the smarter of the two players.
I'd say it's definitely worth it, considering Baron's up right now, and Dragon will be up before that inhib respawns. It allows you to either trade one of the objectives. Your options, you have 3 options now. You can either take the Baron and be happy with it, you can take the Soul and be happy with it, or you could take Nexus turrets and be happy with it. You'll have double TP up. You can allow for so many more possibilities that Big Chroma has to be wary of. Big Chroma can't, start a Baron, or else, G2 might just be happy taking the Soul and taking a Nexus turret while you're busy doing that.
Tifa's committing to teleport to the top side. It looks like G2 are going to take that first option to go for a Baron and trying to be happy with it. Big Chroma will have to try to stop them, as it's going to be a 5v5, and I don't know if the tournament fight's actually that favorable for G2. Let's see what the Rek'Sai can do in this situation, given that they have so much control over this pit. Lysia as well going to be here to front line, but Zavi's doing a good job just trying to poke with a bit of artillery fire for the time being. It looks like it's going to be a peel off, as G2 do not want to lose the tier 1 mid, and therefore we're back to kind of a neutral state between these two teams a minute before the dragon spawns.
Yeah, I mean, both teams just poshing around each other. Super minions are currently in the base, though, so Ari has to peel off and do that. And now that they'll see Ari, that's just the Nexus turret gone.
Oh no, Big Chroma spent way too long just trying to do the Baron dance with G2, but they have 2 left feet in this scenario, and now G2 are able to kind of get the best of both worlds. The Nexus turret's gone, and they still are able to be the first ones to access the big purple worm. Zavi gonna have to do so much off of their prepared lightning crash. They have many tools at their disposal. Here comes the teleport in. Vixen is gonna be back for this one, but Call the Forge God is already used, and Crow has been completely chased off of this fight. There's no way for Big to now frontline for this. However, G2 have decided to de-aggro the Baron Nashor, as they know that with 18 seconds left before the next dragon spawns up, they have to make a decision soon.
Yeah, Ari TP'd without clearing the wave, so Sion has to go back and potentially look for another TP, but then all your TPs are down.
And here comes Nautilus. Vixen is just picked in an instant. Great commit there. And Tifa is the one that grabs the kill. Now Crow is back with another teleport available, but they are split from the rest of their team. And now they are being chased back through this choke point, buying so much space for G2 to continue this dance. And yes, they are getting pokes low, but the man advantage makes this a very dicey call for Chroma one way or the other. Crow is going to be hit by the the dredge line, and unfortunately, Columbia LBL is not able to walk out of the way of the decimating smash, which means that currently G2 is now in a little bit of trouble. They're whittling down Crow, but they need to do something about Trez. Trying to jump onto the backline. Columbia LBL still remaining alive, gonna use another Q to jump down, and now the silent passive is popped. What can this champion do while in their dead form? Columbia LBL will be able to shield up with their W and get to safety. Tifa, not so lucky though. Zabi is gonna be able to land the killing blow, but Kha'Zix has died on the back end of this one, and now the question is, can we have another certified Zeri moment at play here? Sheena jumps over the wall, looking for one more angle, either into the top lane or to Zabi, and it looks like the rest of the team is going to reset as the Rek'Sai runs interference. Now, with that dying Nexus turret, Big Chroma yet again has to set back out on the map to figure out how can they stop and take up either the Baron, the Nexus turrets, or the Hextech Soul.
Yeah, I mean, the whole time that fight was going on, super minions pushed into the base. Honestly, G2 might have been better off, like, if Lysia could peel off of that fight a little bit sooner, could have TP'd and potentially ended the game with everyone not able to recall. I think there was a potential game-ending push there. It would require G2 kind of inting their lives to stop recalls, but it was possible. However, they're just looking to pick up the soul.
Nautilus is wading into the melee versus all 5 Blue Squad members, and that buys the time for G2 to take in the Hextech Soul without a single dragon back over to Big Chroma. And now this could just be the game-ending fight. Here's the Call of the Forge, got another double knockup. Vixen is already dead. Big has to try to extract themselves from the situation. Unfortunately, with Crow also falling in a double-double for Caltus, I think that Big Chroma have lost too many members in this one. We are going to see this tier 2 fall. Meanwhile, there's a teleport into the base. Tifa is looking to take down an inhibitor one more time. Here comes the Rek'Sai as follow-up. Columbia LBL, Caltus, and Lysia also walking through that mid lane. They take a few tower shots, but they have killed the Zeri. It's in fact a shutdown, and now Sheena is able to tunnel forward, kill their jungle partner, and now it is only this dying Nexus turret between G2 and the first victory of Grand Finals.
Yeah, absolutely great. I mean, just so well done from G2 Hell in this game one, putting themselves on series point, potentially one game away from winning the entire tournament. So well done from G2 Hell. Big Chroma definitely had showing signs of life, but off a game 2 win to bring us to game 3.
And G2 are poised to take the entirety of the Equal Esports Cup. Big Chroma put up a fight, but it just wasn't enough. And when G2 was able to drag this game into situations where they were able to use their superior macro, it felt like there was really no response from Blue side. And so, Cam, we look upon a very dire circumstance for these dark horses, these pseudo favorites moving up against the actual favorites of the tournament.
Oh, yeah.
G2 looks so good here and now. Can they be stopped?
We will have to see. Obviously, G2 Hell coming out of winning Pathfinders, looking like the best women's team to ever do it in League, and here they are showing up in this tournament. We'll have to see how this next game goes.
All right, we'll see you guys on the other side. We're going to take a quick break, but we will be back soon with the second draft of the Grand Finals. Hello, friends, and welcome back to maybe the final game of this tournament. The Esports Cup has been absolutely packed up until this point, and now we have Big Chroma versus G2 the second round. I mean, G2, though, is looking good, so strong from that first game, Cam. What does Big Chroma need to change?
I mean, it's not that like any core part went wrong. Like you don't look back at that game and you point out, oh yeah, it was this play that changed everything. They just like there was just so much going on, little missteps and little misplays just added up over time, death of 1,000 cuts, if you will. And G2 Hell just showed up and looks like the better macro team overall. We'll have to see if G2 Hell win this game, then they take home first place. They win the entire tournament. If Big Chroma take it, then we go to and then we go to game 3, final game.
And given how my expectations have kind of been shifted by G2 Hell in this last game, I'm not going to turn my estimation from a 2-0 one way to a 2-0 the other. I don't think that Big Chroma has what it takes anymore, unfortunately. G2 Hell have such immense momentum, not only from this last game, but throughout the entirety of the tournament. They haven't dropped a single match so far, Cam.
Yeah, they've looked absolutely dominating in every single one of their games. And I mean, it makes so much sense. I mean, G2 Hell, not only coming off of winning Pathfinders, I mean, they've just done so good in all of these tournaments. They got second place in Girl Gamer and so many other, like, they've just been so dominant recently. And I mean, they just recently, about a few weeks ago, picked up Sheena, their new jungler, and Sheena's been slotted in very well. I mean, this is her debut tournament, and she's looking experienced.
For sure. G2 doesn't really seem to be hurting for the fact that maybe they've been pushed back a bit in terms of the coordination by roster swapping and building up a new team. Sheena, frankly, has kind of been the point man for many of these games that G2 have played so far. I love the fact that they are very much willing to go super aggressive. I was getting worried about the Rek'Sai not going hard and fast enough in that first game, and it just didn't matter because they eventually set up for a beautiful tower dive down bot at around the 18-minute mark, and that really put G2 ahead from there on out. And I gotta say,
Yeah.
that was due to the fact that Sheena knew exactly when to start pressing their buttons and when to commit for a play. They weren't impatient like I was. And Cam, I gotta say, in that kind of situation, I would not have been able to rise to the occasion the way that they have here.
Yeah, it is very well done. I might also add, she is holding her card upside down and has been this whole entire time.
It's just a fan at this point, you know. They
Yeah,
know their information so much better than we do at the end of the day, Cam. That's the real thing about it. And also, I think there's like actually 2 cards there. And,
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go. Hey!
Yeah, they're she's laughing about it.
Okay, there we go. There we go.
Oh,
All right, back to speculation. What the hell is in front of the table, man?
It's something leaning against it, I think.
Yeah, but I can't tell what it is. Is it like an axe handle or something? A hammer?
Maybe, yeah. I don't think they're gonna pan down that much for us to see. There was a random water bottle laying sideways on the floor over there.
I mean, to be fair, I don't think that we should be flaming anybody for their setups, given the fact that if you were to open the webcam on my room right now, I would cry.
But yeah, I mean, I'm totally looking forward to how this game goes. I mean, G2 Hell, if they win this, they will have just gone undefeated through this whole tournament. They won 2-0 group stage. They won every game in the knockout stage. And now looking down the finals, they have the chance to perfect game everyone. Just perfect, clean sweep through everything. Just cementing themselves as such a dominant team with their new jungle pickup.
Now, I hope that I'm not a walking curse for what we're about to see, I must say. Given the fact that last night, as I've kind of talked about before, I casted a meta shift game where the undefeated team decided to forfeit it in the second round of the best of 3. G2 is in a similar position. Let's see if they want to draft wildly here.
Yeah, I mean, luckily you'd expect a little bit more respect being put on Big Chroma, because it's not like Big Chroma just rolled over and died that first game.
Nope.
They kept putting up a fight, and I mean, it certainly wasn't the cleanest game we've seen, but it was certainly not bad, and we will hopefully continue to see that sort of gameplay come out from Big Chroma, potentially picking up. I mean, the series is not over. Big Chroma could still come out on top and win this whole thing, but I mean, if not, second place is still absolutely amazing to end on.
Yeah, think about all the heavy hitters we've had so far in this tournament. We've documented a lot of other favorites not even make it to grand finals. SK in particular looked so good with their Avarosa roster here, but unfortunately they dropped and weren't even able to make it to third place.
Yeah, and we have started up the draft. Obviously, G2 Hell up a game. Big Chroma respecting the Nico, ban it out yet again. I mean, makes complete sense as G2 Hell. This is just the same exact ban order as last time.
And frankly, ball is in Big Chroma's court, honestly, as this is the team that needs to figure out what they need to do to push back against what G2 was packing. And the problem is G2 have kind of a track record of dominating on multiple champions, and so we can't even see the Rek'Sai ban just yet from blue side. They have to knock out that Nocturne that Sheena had the carry performance on earlier.
Yeah, it was just like I was saying. The Nocturne performance was so good that Big Chroma see the value in banning it out, and they banned the Lucian yet again. Really worried about G2 Hell pulling out the Lucian, but I mean, they'll just go another ADC that they're good on.
And the Poppy ban yet again returning to the fray for G2 Hell. And it looks like we're getting kind of a run back so far. We're going to have to see whether or not Big Chrome will want to fully commit here with a lock-in or at least a hover of that Zeri. And it's a pretty snap windmill slam pick there. G2 now have the ball in their court to see if we're going to get the full run back.
Yeah, I mean, pretty free Zeri pickup, and now G2 Hell, I don't know if they'll run the Callista Nautilus again, but the option is there if they do, holding off on any hover, and we'll just select the Vi.
I like the Vi quite a bit. I think that Sheena is kind of happy to take the back seat for a game, and in a way, Vi is just a more facilitator-oriented Rek'Sai. Both do the thing where you dive into the back line. This time around, though, I think they're going to be putting a little bit more weight on their laners that have constantly proven themselves throughout this tournament. G2 now can look at Lysia, Tifa, or Kaltus as their carry in this one. And we see the Lulu to set up for what is probably going to be a big carry there for the 80 carry role.
Yeah, you steal out the Lulu, which is always good. The Pantheon hover coming out again. Still interesting enough. Okay, we see the Yuumi hover. Potentially, we see the Yuumi come out. Now that Lulu's gone, I mean, I think it's pretty free, and they do go for it. I mean, such a strong bot lane, Yuumi Zeri. Super safe, super strong. Definitely, very high contention, yet the teams didn't want to contend for it. Big Chroma just get the free pickup, and now, we'll have to see what they pick next. Just a few seconds until it comes out, and they're going for the Lissandra. Yes.
This is a pretty classic set of picks. I don't really like a blind Lissandra. Get it? Because she's blind. I think that's why she has the thing over her eyes. She was like hit by Volibear, whatever. Anyway, fact of the matter is, I'm not the biggest fan of this because her roaming can easily be answered back by G2 just similarly going for a champion that's able to hop, skip, and jump over walls. Maybe even a Talon. That would be pretty fun to see. I like the fact that we're going back to the bot lane first, though. At least I think we're going back to the bot lane. Who knows with the Twitch, but it is in fact going to be a Twitch.
Yeah, Twitch is, I mean, it's not Twitch Yuumi, but I mean, you'll always take the Twitch Lulu as well. Trying to just pull out a good Twitch all out of nowhere could change up everything. G2 Hell putting respect on Crow still, banning out the Renekton, Big Chroma, but it's just a lot of top lane bans coming out here. We'll have to see. Obviously, big G2 Hell will get the counter pick option here, so we'll see if they send. Well, yeah, mid lane's already picked, so yeah, so they will have counter pick for their top laner as G2 Hell ban out the Jarvan.
For sure. I like the fact that the Jarvan is being denied here. You already have such immense setup. Following a Lissandra ultimate with a Cataclysm or vice versa could be backbreaking for G2, so they're going to deny that from Big Chroma. Now let's see what the final ban of what could be the final game of this final series will be.
Yeah, now G2 Hell having their fun little Alistar Soraka hover. I'm unsure exactly what they're. I'm sure there's some joke or some meme that they're referencing with that, but will potentially just go the way of the Seraphine mid. But we'll just decide on the Orianna. I mean, Tifa's played it so many times already. Just go on right back. You're already practiced on it. You're already winning on it. So just keep going the same.
Ooh, at the end of the day, it's going to be the Oriana grab. I love this pick. I think that I've become a real believer in the way that you are, Cam, about this selection, particularly through this tournament. But I was always there and happy to see this kind of control-oriented mage being played. It's not going to have the same kind of roaming potential as Vixen will on the Lissandra, but we've already seen that Kaltus knows how to use their teleports and back timers perfectly to always pressure stuff with the rest of G2.
Yeah, Big Chroma show the Wukong. I mean, just they're definitely going for that sort of just team fight oriented. I'm not liking this hover at the moment. I don't really like the Volibear here with their team comp, but I'm sure it's just a joke hover. Never mind.
Nope, it's going to be grabbed. So, what do you think now, my man?
I don't think it works very well with what they're showing. I mean, you have Lissandra and Wukong who are already jumping in, doing great. I think you'd want it's just something facilitating or hard carry, but Volibear's in such a weird spot where you Big Chroma want to scale, they want to fight around objectives, but Volibear is gonna fall off very quick into this game as Shen gets picked by G2 Hell.
I love this. I really like this. And I know you like it even more than me, Cam, as you are the resident Shen player. Tell me, what do you think about this?
This is absolutely amazing. Shen has such a great lane matchup versus Voli. I mean, you walk in, Shen just pops his W, and there's not much you can do to him anymore. As this Voli will definitely be getting outscaled. It just feels so anti-synergistic with what Big Chroma want to be doing, but perhaps they'll be. I mean, I'm sure at this point they're specking into tank Volibear, which I mean I have even bigger thoughts about, but I will spare the broadcast from those. As I mean, both team comps are still overall solid. I might not like the Volibear, but I still love every other pick coming out from Big Chroma, and G2 Hell have a solid comp as well. I'm loving how this game's looking.
I have to turn back from what I was saying earlier about G2 able to kind of distribute their carry pressure in this game. It looks like they're really just kind of committing to ensuring that Kaltus is able to get ahead. Tifa is going to be able to set up for them. Going for Lysia on a tank and one that is wholly supportive given the way that their ultimate works. I think that this is probably the most pointy draft, if that makes sense, all directed to making sure that their AD carry will be able to pop off. And the thing is, I don't think that Twitch is as much of a hard carry in that way as, say, Azeri is. So that is a potential weakness on G2's side. We could just be seeing the Twitch fall behind, and because nobody else is really able to access the same level of team fight power, it could be the case that Big Chroma is just eventually able to outscale while G2 can't get a full team fight that they so desire.
Yeah, I mean, you're just totally right. Twitch will definitely be a bit on the back foot, but he will have obviously the chance to get funny kills with his invisibility. He obviously doesn't have the Yumi, so he has to go. He has to be a lot less safe if he goes deep with those. Obviously, Yumi, if Yumi's just on him, then Twitch gets to take Yumi invisible with him, but.
All right, and now with us only about 100 seconds before entering onto the Rift, I gotta ask the same question as I did last time, as we kind of stall, and unfortunately the draft has blocked us from looking at more items on the table. Cam, who do you think's getting first blood in this one?
First Blood is almost certainly going the way of G2 Hell unless G2 Hell misplay. Like First Blood can go to Big Chroma. It requires G2 Hell to misplay, I do believe, because your best chance of a gank opportunity is onto Twitch Lulu with the Wukong, or sending Wukong up, but then it's Voli Wukong versus a Shen, and he's probably okay. So your best chance is probably the mid lane, and I mean, Orianna's a bit safe as well, so I don't expect a First Blood to come out all too soon either side, unless Vi heads up top and Crow's just kind of, having fun on Volibear and a bit mispositioned.
That's definitely the case. I think that I would agree. First Blood definitely going over to G2, but I'm not going to say it's because of all these, color casterly dynamics that you're elucidating. I think that it's just going to be because G2 are better players, and I think that Calvus might actually be someone on this Twitch.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point of analytical work? You just point and they're better.
I
They
mean,
win.
Cam, you already know my brand of research for these kinds of tournaments.
Oh, but yeah, I am super excited for this to play out. I mean, I think in a full-on 5v5, without any flanks or anything, Big Chroma are actually still valued higher as long as they don't get Omega Shock Blasted. Uh, Shock Blast can change and shift this fight super hard. And I mean, obviously, the pick potential on Big Chroma is lowered with the Shen. I mean, you using the Shen ult's a little risky sometimes, especially versus this Volibear, because Volley will destroy the turret while you're gone. So
Mhm.
we will definitely see Shen opted into this DP.
Why is there a leather pencil bag that we saw our host on the left gesticulating with wildly earlier on?
Um, who knows?
It seems to be like, do you know Shibi casts by any chance?
I cannot say I do.
He's a great guy. He's another color caster. Does a lot of stuff with like CLOL, casts for BOL. He's known for his prop comedy, is one way to put it. And so I'm
Uh,
just wondering if he may have a rival on the other side of the pond, as it were.
oh, okay. So Crow is running lethal tempo, starting Doran's ring, standard, but not tank Volibear, which a part of me is happy and not so, because I mean tank Volibear sucks, but also at the same time, not playing tank Volibear in this match sucks. Playing, you've put yourself in a position where if this Volley doesn't get ahead, it's never gonna provide anything to you that another top laner couldn't have.
And here's the thing, we saw Lysia solo kill a Scion as an Ornn. Now, the exact circumstances of why that happened, are still up for debate, but fact of the matter is, not a good track record for Big's top laner to actually be the one to really make the mark.
Yeah, we'll have to see both ADCs opting into Cole, Yumi, obviously, going funny Yumi tech, going Spell Thieves, no health pots, Lulu, going Relic Shield, gonna be playing a lot safer in this lane. Shen going the Doran Shield, and both mid laners going Doran's Ring. No Oracle Lens for either team, as the hell, minions will meet, minions will clash, and so will our laners.
Sheena actually going to be starting on Raptors here, and this might provide a temporary bit of confusion for Big Chroma, who decided to run top and dropped a ward inside of the red buff pit. G2 still are kind of obfuscating exactly where the champion is starting, as we're getting a full meeting of all of the characters within the lanes themselves. BL, very aggressive on this Lulu. Notes of how they played Nautilus as well, just walking forward to toss out some of those auto attacks and stack up that. Well, actually, they don't have Spell Thief, so I don't know why they're doing that. Well, for health purposes, but
Yeah. I love this vertical jungling coming out from the Wukong. She's
again.
quickly picking this up. I mean, sadly they don't have push onto G2, so the dive is a little rough, but potentially there is Volibear will win the early parts of this lane. Will have the push that is quite expected, but I just can't help but feel that G2's top laner will just completely outscale very quick into this game.
Kaltis has the health advantage versus Zavi here. BL is on vision, but the fact of the matter is their positioning is such that Big Chroma can't really walk up to this wave without taking a big chunk, especially given the fact that you only have a Yumi with Lumi piloting that. Trez is going for a gank, though, and this could be a brilliant push in. Kaltis is going to have to just zoom away off the back of BL's heal, but it looks like they're going to be able to preserve the cleanse and flash, which is pretty darn good given the current state of the lane.
Yeah, not bad at all. I mean, Zeri used Ghost for that, so it's just a 1-for-1 summoner spell trade. And G2 continue their bot push. They are could not be more happy with that. The play just ends up working in favor of them. Volibear getting the poke out, as I mean, Vi was able to kind of just free farm a bit.
And while it has been an impressive showing in some of these individual lanes for Big Chroma, such as topside, I'm just afraid that this is a story that will soon end. it is the case that the individual power of these champions will lead to some of these inherent CS advantages. We're also seeing Vixen constantly shove Tifa, but fact of the matter is, even with this cheater recall, Tifa is going to be able to bounce back a little bit on the CS front. And Big, as a whole, have kind of struggled when it comes to grouping up in that mid to late game. And we are not there to get evidence that they have changed that here in game number 2 just yet.
Yeah, looking at rune choices, I have noticed the Phase Rush Oriana, which is quite interesting. Wanting to, in case Lissandra ever jumps on, just get that extra bit of movement speed to try and get away. But very, very interesting rune choices from Oriana. Like to see the experimenting with runes though, as everything else seems just very standard and things have slowed down. I mean, things have just been slow. First Dragon will be up in 20 seconds. This extra AD and AP will be kind of, not that it's bad value to anyone, but definitely one of the lesser important dragons for either team.
At the same time, because the first dragon is kind of less important, you could think that maybe it's worth taking because it accelerates you to a valuable soul. Obviously, stacking multiple Infernals is really good when you're looking for the big soul at the end, but I wouldn't be surprised to see one team or the other just venture down, thinking that because it's lower prio, it's kind of going to be uncontested.
Yeah, and I mean, G2, very happy with, how the entire tournament has gone so far. I mean, you're in a position now where if Big Chroma mess up on this game, you just win it all. And even if you somehow lose, you've given yourself that buffer. It creates such a good mental advantage to play the game on, whereas Big Chroma, things start falling behind, then, the questions start coming through your mind, like, is this really how we lose first place? And all those sort of questions.
The worry that I have is that G2 can just kind of relax in this one. They obviously cannot go uber late because of Zavi on the Zeri once again, but we've clearly seen that even 30 minutes into a match, G2 can contest a team that theoretically has better scaling. And here, because you have the Shen and the Oriana, there's always plenty of a setup and oftentimes man advantages generated, especially when it comes to dances around something like the Baron Nashor and other neutral objectives that can lead to G2 putting Big Chroma in constant situations where they have to make decisions, and one mistake or another could be backbreaking against a team like G2 who are so confident and making advantages from basically nothing.
Yeah, it was very well done. They picked up the first dragon. It does seem the dragon HUD is just broken still showing that the next one's infernal. It is indeed not, so we will have to see what the next dragon is in the moment, I suppose.
I believe it's Hextech Drake when it does this kind of glitch.
Oh, okay. But yeah, we will have to see as a dive has come out.
Yeah, Tifa's in a lot of trouble. Great rotation from Crow, but I do love the response of the Shockwave. And now, with multiple people coming on in, it's actually first blood back over to G2. They did not respect the Stand United.
Crow doesn't have TP. This is Shen gets a free reset, gets to buy what they want, and they get the advantage running to the lane. This is very, very good. Vi gets the kill, which is perhaps not exactly the one you would have wanted it on, but you're not complaining that it went on to Vi. I mean, you'll always take it as Volibear's opting for the full AP build, actually, not just buying Doran's Ring for the start of the lane. Interesting.
Interesting. You're withholding your tongue, I can feel here, Cam, given your frankly hurtful comments about Volibear earlier on in the draft. I will say G2 yet again just seem to exploit some gaps in Big Chroma's knowledge to get themselves an early lead in this one. Here's a replay. Look at this. Tifa knows that Crow is coming in, and yet they stand strong. They drop their ultimate, and with the Stand United available, nobody's even below half health by the end of this one. Vixen just has to zoom to safety, burning their flash to do so, and this is prime time now for G2 to really make a mark in this game. Rift Herald's going to be spawning up soon. I imagine that China is going to try to go for it.
Yeah, it's very, very well done so far. Herald up, as you said. Big Chroma in a good position to take it, considering Vi's down there. And yeah, this should be first Herald going the way of Big Chroma. Not bad at all, as we see kind of, just the standard rotations coming out. No real important gold lead for either side. Herald will get picked up, probably dropped in a position that gives them a big Chroma away into this next dragon fight, and potentially happy with the trade if they can convert this Herald into the next dragon. But if G2 just continue the stacking, then G2 will be quite happy with how that all played out.
I'm surprised that G2 didn't have better control over vision there on the topside Rift Herald, or the ability to just go for a quick contest of it. I feel like Big Chroma was kind of given back an advantage for kind of free. Lizia is getting a really good trade under the tower versus Big Crow, though.
Yeah, Crow taking those turret shots definitely was not helping. Lizia, yeah, so both top winners are out of ults, so not much will be happening up there as they kind of just do standard trading. We'll have to pay very close attention to Wukong, currently down near bot, especially with this reset coming out. Could look for the Herald, but Vi is covering the area unknown to a Big Chroma at the moment. We'll have to see. Dragon up in a minute 40. We'll have to see if either team will want to have a big fight around it. I think either side have really good ways to fight this, especially with Shen ult gonna be up for the time that it spawns. Will be quite interesting to check out which teams will fight this.
Kind of lull state gamers right now on both sides. I think that G2 is perfectly happy with that being the case. What I am a little bit worried about is the fact that nothing has been done to stop Zabi from staying at about parallel CS to Caltis. And this time around, it isn't such that Zabi is so far behind the possible scaling or power spikes of Kalista. Twitch is actually also a champion that really nicely orients towards the late game. The fact of the matter is Zeri is just going to outvalue after a certain point, and I don't like the fact that so far Sheena has been unable to leverage that first kill that they got into doing something versus what is an insane late game combo with the Zeri Yumi for Zabi Lumi.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of got the one gank and have just been busy farming up now, not really looking for angles. Just ulting the turret for more damage. we'll happily walk away with that plating. I mean, that's kind of how you run Volibear rotations versus a tank. You just ult the turret, get the plate, and then walk away.
And Big, off of these kinds of things, have found themselves in about a 400 gold advantage, even as First Blood was claimed by G2. They have grabbed themselves quite a few plates, and the fact of the matter is the gold balance is such that it's the Zeri ahead alongside the Volibear being ahead.
And we have Chemtech Dragon spawning for the second dragon. Very good to knock this off. The soul point will be really strong this game, especially if it's Cloud Dragon, because that will, if it's Cloud Soul, my feelings about Volibear, especially AP Volibear, have changed, but it will be something.
We're really hanging in the balance. I think
Hextech Soul.
that is going to be Hextech Soul, yep.
Which you love to see if when you're running Zeri and Twitch. This will be very useful for them, and you'll be paying loads of attention to these ADCs to see how they do.
You got to be worried about Big Chroma just being down 2 dragons now with the most valuable soul of the game, yet again, poised to be taken by G2. Lizia, chasing Trez off of the Krugs, will not be able to kill the Wukong, but at least they frightened them for quite a while. Now Columbia LBL is here as support to try to take down Big Crow in this 2v1. Not a whole lot of damage available for either side of this play. The Nashor's Tooth, I think, is doing a ton, but Sheena is eventually going to be able to come through. Lizzie has stabilized, and now, actually, the whole gang is here. That's just another kill over to D2. The Big Chroma have done a lot to draw resources away from Red Squad.
Yeah, and oh.
I don't know about this. I think that Caltis might be able to kite this out. They have the Flash and Cleanse available. They just go invisible. They run over to the bot side tower. And now because of the teleport setup, there's a chance that we get a re-engage. Columbia LBL immediately has to ult themselves, but now they flash forward to continue a lockup as a Lulu of all things. I think that Columbia LBL still thinks they're playing Nautilus, but regardless, it is paying off as Lizia teleports in as well. Vixen has to walk to safety, and now the kill score sits at 3-0 in favor of G2, and they have gotten themselves the goal back, especially with Vixen dying on the back end of this one to make it actually 4-0.
Yeah, all the kills going the way of Vi is definitely one of the outcomes that could have happened there. But yeah, no, that was just really good. They go for the re-engage, trying to get their jungler out of there, but they don't account for the Shen'el. The Shen'el applies so much value to the Lulu, makes her unkillable after they jump on her, and Shen just comes through, taunts the whole team, and then there's not much Zeri can do after the fact.
Not at all. Looks like Columbia LBL is going to resist the classic support temptation of trying to walk up to kill that control ward, knowing that the Monkey Man is still on the prowl, so G2 will just take a reset. But they're in a very comfortable position in this game. Yes, they're still down a little bit of gold due to the fact that Big Chroma has taken that topside tier 1 alongside all of its plates prior to the 14-minute mark. But I don't really see Big Chroma translating that into really strong team fights. Sheena is power spiking so hard right now. I know that Vi is going to fall off and that maybe them getting the gold early is not the best thing in the world. But the fact of the matter is, whoever the cease and desist is used on is going to die now.
Oh yeah, I mean this was just so good. The Shen ult coming out, just so much damage, and then Zeri tries to jump in with the Lulu ult or the Yumi ult, but just gets taunted up, has to flash, dash away, and then gets chased off everything. Great flash in the middle of the queue there from Sheena, and just absolutely great performance. Their G2 do find themselves down gold, but they are overall up dragons, because the only reason they're down gold is during that whole entire play, Volibear was smacking the turret around. But
and now G2 are ready to go for one of their favorite things, which is a team fight around this Rift Herald. They got Kaltis here, they got Sheena here, but it looks like with Shen not having access to this topside play without expending their teleport, they're just going to say, hey, Big Chroma, you can have the second Rift Herald. It's not the most valuable objective in the world anyway. I will say, you got to be worried about the fact that Crow's going to be the one grabbing the eye, and I imagine that they're just going to run down another lane, and we could be in a situation where, as G2 are able to crack open the enemy base very quickly in game number 1, now Big Chroma could be doing the same here to get themselves priority in the next few minutes around something like a Dragon or maybe even the Baron Nashor.
yeah, I mean, still G2 find themselves down about 1,000 gold, but next dragon, which is the Hextech Dragon, will be up in a minute's time. Will be very good to send this volley down bot with the Herald. We'll look to drop it closer to that dragon spawn, so then even if G2 look to take the dragon and go on soul point, Big Chroma can at least look to threaten a turret or two, or if the dragon goes wrong. But there is also the world where they drop it and get that and the dragon, everything they want. Everyone on G2 is currently on a reset except for this Orianna, so Crow happy to just take this turret.
That being said, the crash of the Shelly here, I think, probably means you're only getting the one charge off. I believe that this will be cleared out in time, although the Orianna's taking a reset, and that means this is going to be up to Vi to smite away the Scuttle or the Rift Herald. Actually, no, Orianna will in fact realize, hey, I can't let this run onto the tier 2 tower. That would be a disaster for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you put yourself in a position. Orianna still hasn't reset, but she's out of mana, so she has to. So now Orianna has to expend the TP to even get to this dragon fight.
Well, the dragon is going to be spawning up here in less than a second now, and frankly, this is how G2 wins the game. They need to, from behind about 1,000 gold, grab this, push it to soul point, and then take an advantageous fight on their terms in the next few minutes. So they're currently with priority around this mid lane, maybe looking for a pick onto Zavi. Kaltis is spotted out, I believe, in their invisible mode, so they just have to back off from going whole hog on this one, but a lot of resources are available for both sides. Shen is actually splitting the top right now, knowing that they could relocate anywhere at any time due to the availability of their Stand United, and Big Chroma simultaneously know that this is the case. It's not a true mana damage fight whatsoever for Blue Spell right now. Wukong is going on the flank of a lifetime though, but maybe they might be too late to this play as we already see the trigger pull. Tifa is below half health, but Vixen is completely isolated and collapsed upon. Kaltis gets that kill. Here comes the knockup into the backline though. Massive Cyclone, and Zavi is now activated to jump into the melee. Sheena is going low. Columbia LBL is able to get to safety, but just barely. Kaltis kind of saving this play with a double kill of their own. And now yet again, we move to a stalemate in the bot side river.
Yeah, the fight, their G2 are kind of pulling off, but at the same time, you could just tell that they kind of want to keep going, but no, they will just channel. Yeah, Vi will just give it up, and this will be first dragon going the way, or sorry, Big Chroma's first dragon, but third dragon of the game. They will start potentially stacking these Hextech dragons. You love to see this with your Zeri and Volibear. I mean, you're both building high attack speed. This is a very high value dragon for you, and if you start stacking more of these Hextech dragons, you could potentially be looking at making a comeback, especially being up the 2k gold that they are.
I'm kind of surprised that G2 didn't decide to gamble that play. If they were able to get the soul point, Big Chroma finds themselves in a very awkward position. However, I also understand that you do not want to potentially give Xavi a triple kill, so it makes sense that they will respect the health advantage that Blue Squad had. Let's look at the replay now.
Yeah, I mean, Wukong goes on the flank, but it's just a bit too far away. Does finally jump on and picks up some kills, which is very good. Voli picks up the Shen, and like it does look really good here. G2 then have to back off, but then they pick up the kill onto Volibear thanks to the Twitch, and then it starts to look bad for Big Chroma, but ultimately just a bit of trading and the dragon going the way of Big Chroma overall. They are happy with it.
Zeri has not been answered just yet, though, and therefore the gold advantage for Big Chroma is such that I feel confident in saying that they not only have a pathway to victory in this one, but I would say right now they're theoretically ahead of G2. For as much as we have seen evidence that G2 know exactly what to do in situations like this, as they are going to just grab this tier 1 tower topside, the fact of the matter is Big Chroma is looking very good.
Yeah, Volibear, a little bit of funny turret diving coming on here. Shen is unable to be auto-attacked, but will be auto-attacked just enough to have to flash away. Volibear showing the power of AP Volibear. I never doubted the pick.
For sure, you never doubted them. You're pulling a Kobe right here, right now, except I think that he may have been slightly more genuine, as much as I hate to say it, Cam. I don't want to speculate on your tastes, but now Sheena wants to go for the re-engage off of a cease and desist. No flash available. They're going to have to go for another Q to get into range, which makes it a very, very protracted play now, and therefore you can't really commit because Big Chroma could have easily sent multiple members down there to deal with the buy. So instead, they will refocus upon maybe trying to facilitate something in the mid lane. 3 Red Squad members there to try to push upon the tier 1 tower.
Yeah, Twitch already finished his Blade of the Rune King, has his Rage Knife now, although Vi is behind. Volibear in big trouble.
Yep, Crow is now getting considered by 3 separate members, and there's just not really a whole lot of tools available for Crow to get out of this situation. They used that ult earlier to get some damage onto the tier 2 tower, and now they will pay for doing so with their life.
And the kill goes the way of Vi, as is precedented so far. Bit of Hexgate usage to get Wukong out of there, as a bit of posturing coming around. Baron's up, but I don't think any team's really in a big position to do it. Be looking a lot more to this next Hextech Dragon spawning in 2 minutes time.
If there's one thing that I know about women and gender minorities tournaments in EU, it's apparently that they really love the Baron dance. I think we saw a 10-minute Baron dance, basically, in the consolation bracket, and that is incredible to see. The confidence from these teams, strutting their stuff, constantly kind of gambiting back and forth over the pit, was really a sight to behold, and I would love to see it again here with G2 versus Big Chroma.
Now, don't forget, you have to remove the outliers when looking at the averages. When you remove the outliers, doesn't seem like many Baron dances happen, but yeah, that was quite the Baron dance that happened. They were dancing for a whole prom session at that point.
You know about like the dancing plague of Europe? It was like something in like I think like the 16th century where it was like mass psychogenic illness where people just started dancing, they could not stop.
Huh, well, Volibear's... Ooh. Oh, no, Volibear's dead.
Okay, well, Crow's apparently been infected with the myopsychogenic illness of doing nothing but split pushing here, because now here comes Sheena on the back end of this one. And while that does get the teleport out of Lysia, that teleport is only coming in the form of their ultimate rather than the actual summoner spell, and therefore there's tons of relocation potential for the Shen to come back up and de-push Big Chroma from going for something like the Baron Nashor, and so things will remain in the balance, this time with G2 with a man advantage on the map as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, we see Crow going the way of Hullbreaker next, which, I mean, makes sense. They really want to destroy these turrets. The only issue is, if you were going to pick a champion that's only sitting in side lanes, it's just, there were so many better choices in Volibear. But, I mean, they were picking it blind, but, Yeah, I mean, dancing around mid lane is happening now as Volley's a bit far. Wukong's kind of on a flank, but Dragon is up now, and G2 obviously really want this Dragon.
There are teleports available for either side, but I think that everybody's just going to commit here and now. Volibear is walking over from the base. Trez was going for a flank, and now they are kind of getting run down in the bot lane. There is going to be the dedication of this summoner spell to ensure that the jungler of Big Chroma stays alive and will be able to re-engage for another fight around this dragon. Vi looking for yet again an ability to dive on in as point man, but they're really only kind of fighting Crow, who at this point at 0-5 probably does not need to be the target of the team. Xavi is really the issue for G2 to have to deal with. The Zeri has gotten themselves a bounty due to how good their CS has been. They're up at 2 items, matching with the Twitch, but also having a few more component parts. Sheena is starting up the dragon, but kind of alone. And here comes Trez yet again with a massive engage. It's going to be a quadruple knockup off of the ultimate, and now Big Crow jumps in as well, cracking the skies asunder as Red Squad are scattered, forced off of the river. Sheena zooms away with the Vault Breaker. Tifa not so lucky. They're being forced towards the tier 1 tower of Big Chroma, and I think that we're about to see Blue Squad open up and take us to game number 3. Sheena is going to fall. It's a shutdown flowing over to the Zeri. Tifa has nowhere to go. Lulu takes the reset, but it's 4 members of G2 gone, and now with the CZM completed, Big Chroma will move on to the Baron Nashor.
What a throw from G2. It looked so good. They pressure down bot, they get the TP out, they go pressure up top, but then after getting the pressure, they just sit in the choke point. Just they were just waiting for something, but nothing came. All that came was their demise as Big Chroma pick up the Baron Nashor, now up about 4k gold. Will look to possibly convert this into Dragon. However, G2 might be in a better position to rush this down and put themselves in sole point. I'd say it's a bit too early to document this game as over for either side. However, this game is still up to either side.
That's a teleport dedicated up to, I believe, the top lane by Tifa. Actually, no, they're going bot. I don't know why I was looking at something on the map like that. Regardless, G2 gonna be able to get the dragon here and move on to Soul Point, but I gotta say, Big Chroma just blew this game wide open. That's 4-0-0, or 4-0-1 Zeri with the Triforce, the Titanic, and the Lumion all completed. They have assembled Voltron at this point, and they also have Lumi on their back, which means they have like an extra 2 items for some reason.
Yeah, but I mean, G2 played it smartly though. They gave the assist over to Volibear, so their next kill on him will be a full 300 gold.
Is that playing it smart? I don't think that they intended for that to happen. That is way too deep of thought to be had during the midst of a team fight like that.
About a 5k gold lead for Big Chroma as Crow dies for turret.
Yeah, he's gonna get it. There's the knockup. I'm surprised that Lulu ultimate was burnt, but I guess they had to get it on the Caltus, who's kind of space gliding given how their build is going, but they are certainly behind this area at this point, and that is going to be a trade of that topside kill for the mid turret. And also with the tier 2 going down, I think that more and more standing gold being axed by Big Chroma is just making it even more advantageous for them. That being Sheena? Okay, they really wanted to try to initiate this fight. The problem is Xavi's gotten to safety yet again. Trez is able to peel quite a bit with the Psycho, and eventually they're going to fall. Vi has to go golden in this one, but Vixen is split for the rest of the team. Xavi's going to pick up the kill onto the Vi. Lysia's in a little bit of trouble. They're just taking too much damage. Vixen will die, but unfortunately, I don't think that this is favorable enough for G2. They still have not been able to kill this AD carry.
Yeah, I mean, they're just waiting to claim this 1k gold by killing her, but it's impossible with Yuumi on her. She becomes so hard to kill, and I mean, all I can think about is it's kind of your fault. I mean, Yuumi hasn't been picked by most of the teams this tournament yet, at least none of the ones that we featured, but they just left it open. Looking at the replay, we see, Vi just going way too forward alone. Sure, the Shen ult comes out, but like, it was just way too alone. The backline was so separated that Vi just goes down, Shen just goes down, and like, they get the re-engage, but Zeri just built so much space. I just can't help but feel like Sheena just got way too excited.
Yeah, it's just a matter of if you cannot get everything onto Zavi and keep the lockup going for long enough for your team to relocate, it doesn't matter that you're picking up any other kills anymore. G2 has to deal with the Zeri, and that's about it. 6-0-1 now, being accelerated towards a fourth item with a Yumi at their back means that this is basically the entirety of Big Chroma's team composition dedicated to facilitating the Zeri or creating enough of a distraction via Crow split pushing that the Zeri is going to be able to get a man advantage fight.
Yeah, and I mean that you are kind of valued with Crow in a way. Oh,
Well, Crow's gonna die again, and with no neutral objectives up, I actually don't really think this is the best split in the world for Big Chroma. They are gonna try to run this down towards the inhibitor mid, but there are gonna be resets coming through from G2. Unfortunately, Caltus alone will not be able to face take through his Azeri, so maybe this is a worth trade. We're actually seeing a commitment to a flank here by Lysia as well, and so yeah, that is gonna peel Blue Squad off of that inhibitor, and you could say, yeah, this is totally in favor of G2 now.
and I mean, yeah, with Volibear finding themselves so down in terms of value in a fight, your deaths in side lanes are not meaningless, but like the value they're gaining from your deaths in side lanes are just constantly going down, where your value of getting those turrets are still there. So Volibear, she's still providing value by getting all those turrets and threatening the turrets, because they can't just 5v4 a fight, because Volibear will just run through, destroy those turrets.
And that means that G2, even though they are poised to take Soul Point, are in a very awkward position because they know that they cannot leave these side lanes unoccupied for super long. Luckily, no inhibitors have been taken, so they are able to shove these out in preparation for this next minute of a Dragon Dance. But still, no control over Zavi at this point. And frankly, in a front-to-back 5v5, I don't know how Big Chroma is ever going to lose Zeri, barring some kind of drastic mistake from like of Trez or Crow.
Yeah, I mean, G2, I can't help but feel like their best chance into this game now is getting Sheena to steal this dragon somehow. I mean, getting Soul Point, it certainly doesn't put you in that much of a better position, as you still have to climb back that 5k gold lead, but it at least gives you a starting point. It'll make things easier, but still a bit rough, as they will now crack through a mid-tier 1, as now they're being flanked.
Yo, this is such a scary scenario for sure. I really think that we're in a position now where Big Chroma could just pull the trigger pretty belligerently. They don't even need an optimal fight. Here's the engage. Zavi has the Lumi on their back, thrown out the Yumi ultimate. Although at the end of the day, G2 is able to just kind of scatter. And now we're in a position where not only is Dragon about to spawn up, but we're also very close to a Baron. We could just be witnessing what is going to be the game-ending fight one way or the other, as those double buffs are going to be crazy. Here is the Dragon already started, and unfortunately, Sheena has not been able to find access to the pit just yet. They're going to come face-to-face with Crow, but the Dragon is going so darn low. Vixen jumps in to act as a distraction, and that's just going to be the second Dragon of the game, claimed by Big Chroma. The question is, can Vixen and company get out? I think that Zavi just wants to walk away. They don't care if the Lissandra dies here. Tifa picks the kill up, but now G2 could be looking to stop these backs or even pivot over to this Baron Nashor that's spawning up in 5 seconds.
Yeah, no, G2 immediately rushing this Baron. You're missing out on your Lissandra. Things are looking rough. You have to somehow 5v4 this Volibear's bot, so it'd be a 3v5. But this is just a free Baron over to G2.
And it looks like they aren't going to coin flip this one. Zavi is actually going to try to run down the inhibitor in the mid lane, which is going to be very scary to do as a Zeri, because G2 will have the empowered backs here in just a few seconds. Here comes the mass reset, and this could be the stabilizing factor for Big Chroma to get back out on the map. If they start taking down towers to answer back against what Big Chroma has done so far via Crow and the group pushes after Zeri gets kills, we could be seeing this one go extra long.
Yeah, very good to pick up that kill onto Lissandra. I mean, they lose the dragon off of it, but a single Hextech dragon for the side of Big Chroma in response for a kill in Baron. You take that any day for the side of G2. Very happy with how that all played out, and the 5k gold lead is down to only 2k, and now you're walking around with GA on your Vi, stopwatch on your mid and ADC, and I mean, sure, the enemies have stopwatch on their jungle and ADC, but the amount of luxury that G2 have picked up is very nice to be seen.
And once again, Big Chroma is side laning, and I think G2 are looking for a pick. At this point, I don't really think it's worth it to dedicate many resources to Crow, and the Volibear is finally playing somewhat prudently, knowing that it's hard to access those inner turrets, the ones at the inhibitors. So G2 will, in fact, just look for another way to push out, and I think that what is the target of them right now is either going to be that bot side tier 2 or the mid tier 2.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have to see. I mean, Volibear is currently working on the Frozen Heart, has picked it up, which obviously will help versus this Twitch. I mean, but with this AP Volibear, he's still super squishy, can die really easily, especially to any source of AP damage that Tifa wants to throw his way. I have to see Dragon up in 2.5 minutes, Baron up in 4. I'll have to see if G2 can, you know, get into the pit, start up something, get vision down, or get there first so they can start this up, potentially get Soul Point, or if Big Chroma will go on Soul Point.
All right, well, Crow is finally getting chased off once again. They're just going to flash knowing that they have to be up a united front versus G2's current push off the Baron Nashor. There's the tier 2 going down, and the gold has even back up yet again. And honestly, Twitch has gotten to a point where they may be able to contest Xavi at least a little bit. Probably not directly, as it's still an item advantage for the Zeri, but things are closer than it would at least first appear, especially due to the fact that Vi has gotten themselves a GA and will be a constant thorn inside of Big Chroma even after they're taken down for the first time.
Yeah, Volibear gets the reset. The minions will kill the tier 2 bot turret. No local gold heading the way of Volibear, however. I'll be just walking away from that. Only a 1.5k gold lead for the side of Big Chroma, which allows an angle for G2 to, you know, make their way in and find something. You now have a Lulu who's picked up a stopwatch of her own. So now you have 3 stopwatches and a GA for G2, whereas Big Chroma has picked up the Zanyas for Lissandra, plus their 2 stopwatches. So we will see a lot of golden around this dragon fight.
35-minute banger is upon us at this point, and usually that means sudden doom for the team that did not draft the Zeri Yumi Wombo combo, but I'll be honest, I think that G2, as we've seen before, can still make stuff happen in these plays, especially if Big Chroma is just a little bit discordant in how they approach stuff like this dragon. But 30 seconds away from this one, we could just be seeing the constant push and pull built across this area go in favor of Big Chroma once again, and they could tie us up and take us to dragon number 7, especially if G2 are not careful about the fact that we have Wukong on the long con going for a deep flank inside of the river.
Yeah, a little over 1,000 gold lead as G2 have full access to the river at the moment, but Wukong is on a flank, uses the Warrior's Trickster, but is unable to find anything with it as G2 just want to burn this. Can Wukong steal?
He's going to come in, and there's the Cyclone. The Dragon ticking below 3,000 health, 1,000 now. Here's the crash down onto the backline, but it's the soul claimed by G2. Trez is in a lot of trouble. They're going to hop onto Tifa to try to heal. They go golden. Vixen in trouble. Xavi is just getting mobbed, and G2 rally. They are now ahead on all fronts, and they have just gotten an ace to end the game.
G2 hell. Their sister team to G2 Esports, dominating just like they do in the LEC, looking to win this whole entire tournament right here, right now, pushing into the base. What a dominating team to see from G2 Esports sister team and G2 hell.
And Big Chroma brought it back from the brink, and I thought we were going to a game number 3, but G2 said no. They refused to crumble, and after multiple attempts to get Soul, they will finally find deliverance at the 35-minute mark, and they end the game in 36. They will take the series undefeated and be crowned the champions of the Equal Esports Cup.
Congrats to G2 hell, yeah, completely undefeated run, won every single game of the winners bracket, won every single game of group stage, won every single game of the finals. What didn't this team dominate? Their drafting was so good, their item purchases were so smart, they just played better League of Legends than everyone else. It was so good to see.
and it has been a privilege to be able to cast the knockouts of this tournament. I'm surprised at just how stacked these rosters are. Even these, I'm not going to say no names, but rather unknown dark horse teams coming into the tournament have made a
Yeah.
splash. SK denied a top 3 placing by a team that has a uwu reference in their logo. Can you believe it, Cam?
What a tournament the Equal Esports Cup ended up being. I mean, G2 Hell joined the tournament expected to be the winners, and they come out the winners. Sometimes the underdog story just needs to take a break, and the expected winners, they're expected to win for a reason.
And what an incredible showing overall. Big Chroma, they fought, they scrabbled, they tried to pull together something here. And honestly, I thought that they had it, but G2 were simply too strong at the end of the day. But honestly, I think this is a great sign for women's esports in Europe. So many incredible players have strutted their stuff and really demonstrated why they deserve to be on these big rosters, these big organizations. And frankly, this is some of the most exciting League of Legends I've seen in a very long time, Cam. And I'm happy that we got to document it here on Tracking the Pros and Contingent Esports. But that is it for us today and tonight, depending on where you are. Thank you so much once again for tuning in. Shout outs to Bright on production, making sure that we could actually run this at the very last minute. We couldn't have done this without her. And Cam, we couldn't have done this without you as well, buddy.
Yeah, I'm always glad to join you. It's always great fun to cast with you.
All right. Well, I hope that we're going to have some more fun in the future with some better broadcasts coming your way once we start cleaning up and we don't, have to go live within an hour of learning that we can't go live. So keep an eye out for Tracking the Pros. Keep an eye out on Contingent Esports Twitch channel as well. Follow me on Twitter at Nyarko Casts. Follow Bright if you so desire as well, if you want good set fill content. But that is it from us today. Everyone, have a good night.
Good night.
Let's go, let's move, side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move, side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move, side to side, let's go.